WIIFTBP.
Chicago's Power Hour. I'm your host, Angie Mims, and
Terrence Keys, TD, aka Terrence Daniels.
I wish I had one witness in the house.
You got one. You got a couple of them.
Got
two T's.
Give me a testimony.
Oh Lord, he's did it before. Oh Lord,
I got one. Better. I got 5 reasons.
5 reasons. Oh Lord, he turned it around.
Turn it around. He woke me up this morning.
Oh. Don't do this. Don't do this.
Go
number
ahead.
4.
He woke me up this morning.
Come on, number 3. Come.
He woke me up.
Oh Lord.
He woke you up.
That thing can touch you, but one of them 5s will get you. What's the second one?
He woke me up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh my God.
And the number 1 reason.
Number 1. Final answer.
He woke me up this morning.
He woke me up this morning.
That's a testimony.
That's a testimony.
Hey y'all, this is Salim Muwakil from Muwakil's World. In case you missed the last discussion, this is what you missed.
There was a time when there was a large-scale mythology that African people had no endurance. We were only good for sprinting.
Right.
And that was our forte. Other than that, we were useless in marathon races. Establishing your patrimony on the land. If you bury the dead, that means that this land is forever in your family.
Who are our ancestors, really? We are the living ancestors to a whole genealogical line going back hundreds of thousands, millions of years that we carry within us living today. Everyone who preceded us. Mm-hmm. However, that conception took place, whether it was violently, with rape, or whatever the case, but we are them living today.
That's why it's important to understand our capacity, man. Our capacity is unlimited. We have unlimited potential.
Absolutely.
So make sure you tune in Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 11 to 1 p.m. on What's in It for the Black People Media.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the green side of things. It's your man, Sadiq.
And Cassiopeia.
And we need you to like,
comment,
and share
that thing
every Tuesday and Thursday from 1
to 3 p.m. on
What's in It for the Black People Media.
Drop top cruising, old school music.
say, gotta make my way to you. Pull up on that ass like, ooh. I wanna take you to New York, Chicago, LA, Houston, down all over London, Paris, the A, the Bay, everywhere. I'll take you downtown, girl. Show you all the finer things in life. I wanna take you downtown. Show you all the finer things in life. I wanna take you down. I wanna take you down. I wanna take you downtown. Show you all the finer things in life. I wanna take you downtown. Show you all the finer things in life.
Lakeshore, I made sure to make sure, yeah, that my place yours, yeah. 28th floor, yeah, I had 8 thoughts, yeah, all 8 yours, yeah, cake for dessert, but I ate yours.
I wanna take you to New York, Chicago, LA, Houston, down all over London, Paris, the A, the Bay, everywhere, fly all over. Your last boy couldn't get what you asked for. Your last boy didn't even know. I'm gonna take you downtown, girl. Show you all the finer things in life. I wanna take you downtown. Show you all the finer things in life. I wanna take you down. 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 I wanna take you downtown. Show you all the finer things in life. I wanna take you downtown. Show you all the finer things in life.
WIIFTBP.
You are listening to the most dangerous show in the morning. This is What's in It for the Black People Radio. Maze Jackson. Maze Jackson, the most vociferous advocate for black people in the world.
For Ruthie Moore, for Todd Stroger, I am the host of the Maze Jackson Show, asking every single day, what's in it for the black people? And if you don't like it, you can still tell them Maze said, Mayor Lightfoot, man, we ain't accepting that. We ain't accepting that. Let's go. Yeah. Let's get down to business and go ahead and address the facts, man. Lightfoot seems more lesbian than black. Rahm Emanuel's another case. He was just as tired. 50 closed schools left much to be desired. Police had Anjanette naked on that body cam. They suppressed the footage so it couldn't touch a lot of hands. Reminds me of that 16 shots in that cover-up. Both of them similar, so I went and dug it up. George Floyd killed, a lot of riots happened in the town. Southside burned and they wouldn't let them bridges down. Grandmother sick, need a prescription and plus a couple groceries. You gon' have to travel just to get it now. COVID-19 out here shutting all the business down. Not enough SBA loans to even give around. So many failed businesses that you could put them in the pile. If you don't survive the pandemic, it's gonna sit you down. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. Shout out to Willie Wilson, hope one day you get to send it. We need some different players in the game to handle business. Too many shady characters like Madigan and Blago. But when you really break it down, it's typical Chicago. City full of gangsters, it's what the land was built on. Same streets with hood legends, DNA gets spilled on. Carjackers out here lurking, trying to get they steal on. Looking for a block to put them Hellcat wheels on. Let us give bogus appraisals a red line. Car crackers out here getting minimal fair time. And I'm the seal carry, I stay with the pipe. But Illinois gun laws giving minimal rights. Stay up on the swivel, make sure I'm moving tight. Check all of my mirrors when I pull up to the light. Pick my homie up from out of town, man, he caught a flight. He was hella nervous, told him, shorty, this a way of life. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks.
I am sitting in for Maze Jackson and the family here.
One second. Turn it around.
Come all the way with me. Don't leave me now. Come all the way with me.
What about now? Am I live? Am I good? All right, let's try it one more time. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Chicago, Philly, Atlanta, D.C., the entire world. It is time to get up. It is Sadiq. I am sitting in for Maze Jackson on the Maze Jackson Show. On behalf of Ruthie, Todd, and Sonia, I am in this morning with Reese, the ruler. It's the two of us in the studio. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Grab your coffee, grab your tea, grab your bagel, grab your donut, grab something and sit in with us this morning as we talk about the issues that impact the world and make the world go round. It is the Maze Jackson Show, the #1 political, social talk show, social media show, radio show in the Midwest, and you are here with us this morning. What's happening out there, family? Drop us a good morning. Let us know how you're feeling. We see you on Facebook. We see you on YouTube. And pretty soon we'll be joined by 1570 AM The Box. DJ, how you feel this morning, brother?
I'm blessed by the best. You already know the rest, man. I'm glad that today, I think the team come back tomorrow.
Yeah, they're all in full capacity tomorrow. But I tell you what, thank you. Shout out for you all sending those stars. We really appreciate you. Thank you. And let me say this. I want to thank everybody as you all come in and sign on and are waking up. I know it's 6 o'clock in the morning. But, hey, how you doing, Tammy? It's great to see you out there. Yeah, everybody in the Lion's Den. We really love and appreciate you. It has been a great 5 days. Maze left me the keys to the, we couldn't take the plane out, but we are in the Soul Train, and we have been since last Wednesday, and it's been a full week for me because I sat in with Maze on Tuesday. So it's been a pleasure. How about you?
Oh yeah, man. It was like he left me the keys to the palace, Like I didn't get the keys to the Porsche, but I got the keys to the palace.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
I've been in here, doing everything, taking care of the show. So I definitely enjoyed myself. It was like a bigger role, but I definitely enjoyed it, and I hope that he, enjoyed us being here too. Even though that he definitely went live yesterday during the show, though.
He went live during the show. We're going to have to talk about that. Let me put that. Yeah, that we'll save that for a staff meeting.
He definitely went live.
He definitely went live. Maze Jackson, we're gonna have to talk about that, but that's all right. I did do some research afterwards. I did see where he did go live during the show. I'm sure he didn't know it was showtime though. I think he was so relaxed and so chill, and he was really just trying to. I don't know what he was trying to do, but yeah, we'll talk about that. But it's been great, man. So let us know how you feeling. It is Tuesday. It's raining outside. If you hadn't got and DJ, I don't want to do the weather.
Oh, it's all good.
Oh, okay. I don't want to step on nobody's toes. No. Because as soon as it came out my mouth, I was like, uh-oh. Yeah. But it's raining outside, you all. And I'm only saying that because when I opened the door, I was like, man, it's raining, but it's a quiet rain. So, yeah, I could I didn't hear it or really notice it until I opened the door. So, if you all are tuning in, you see myself and you see DJ back in the studio on the boards because Todd Stroger could not make it in today. We had a guest host that was scheduled to come in. They couldn't make it either. And so I'm in here and I'm just going to run amok this morning. They done left me with the whole Mays Jackson WIIFTBP audience this morning. So
just like everybody left you. He's like, it's just me here. So you're like, hey, man, I'm going to run around the house real quick. You know how you left in the house by yourself?
Yeah,
like,
and there's nobody in here. I got everything. I got all the mics. I got all the headphones, all of that. We're going to play some good music for you this morning. We have a great topic. We actually do have a guest that will be joining us in the 6:30 hour. We're going to talk about what happened to Lori Lightfoot. How did she go from a political darling almost to a pariah? And does race have anything to do with it? What happened to Mayor Lightfoot? So we're going to talk about that with the senior editor of Race and Community from WBEZ, Mr. Alden Lowry. He is going to join us in about the next 14 minutes, but he's gonna join us and he's gonna talk about the social media question of the day. I got a good one for you this morning. So come on in, you all. Come on in. Turn on Facebook Live. Turn on YouTube Live. Join us. It is the Mays Jackson Show. It's Sadiq, and I'm sitting in for everybody this morning. I'm in for Ruthie. I'm in for Todd. DJ's in for Sonia. We in for the whole crew, and I'm specifically in for Mays Jackson. Mays Jackson, don't go live this morning during the show. If you're going to do anything, watch your own show. Watch your own show. It is the Mays Jackson Show this morning. So
say we can always send them a link. Like if you want to join in, just
request the link.
Right, you know what I'm saying? Yo, man, send me a link so I can show all my people how, we'll love that view, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Prop his phone up, give us a good view, and I'm sure they'll be like, look at Mays. So, hey, just join us today.
Yeah, I actually think he's in the audience. I think he's under an alias, though. I'm sure he's checking. I'm sure he's checking on the product. Yeah, no doubt. Good morning, everybody. So check this out, family. So if you all don't know, I like coffee, right? And so every morning I've been saying, I could use some coffee. So we were getting stuff ready in the studio this morning, and I said to myself, hey, I could really use a cup of coffee this morning, to get perked up to move. So DJ looks at me with he's real serious now. And he's like, man, you should let that coffee go. You know what I mean? You should let that coffee go. And I look back at him and I said, look, man, I don't eat meat. I don't eat chicken. I don't eat fish. And you want me I'm not giving my coffee up. That's the last thing I got.
You gotta let them have one. All right, then. You can have the coffee, man. You can have the coffee.
Can I have the coffee?
Yeah. I'm gonna have the coffee because I'm still eating my meat and my chicken right now. I know it probably ain't good for me for sure. But I don't know, man. I guess I haven't went down that plant based or like found anything that's really good. Like I have been leaving the pork alone for sure.
Okay.
So, yeah,
okay.
That's my first step, I think.
First step. How long has it been since you had pork? You like Wednesday?
No,
I'm teasing.
No, it's been some years. It's been some years. I'm like the only person in the house that eat turkey sauce, like a turkey everything. Like,
okay.
But I don't eat pork. And I grew up off pork chops. I grew up off a good pork chop. But they're cooking, and I'm like, I don't know, like my stomach, it just doesn't. So yeah,
doesn't sit right, huh?
Nah, it don't sit right. So
okay,
you can have your coffee though.
It's all a journey. But can I have my coffee?
You can have your coffee though.
Please. I need my coffee. Man, because this that's what I got, you all. I do coffee. And I don't do it every day. I try, though. I try. Today is going to be a long one for me, you know. And let me say this. I really want to give a shout out not only to – I want to give a shout out to this whole morning show piece, right? Because it takes a lot to get up at 3:30, 4 a.m., 4:30, and be ready to make this happen. So shout out to Maze, to Sonia, to Todd, to Ruthie. It takes a lot to make this the soul plane go, right? And I just want to share my appreciation and my love. And for you all out there, the family, the audience, those of you watching, those of you listening, because you have been tremendously supportive as I have tried to fill in such big shoes with your Maze Jackson Show family during the morning. So I really appreciate all of you all, and I will continue to say that. Because it's true, you know. I know that the audience here, you guys are not only astute, but you all definitely, thank you, Alvin, for the coffee. I appreciate it. You all definitely share what's on your mind, and we might not all share the same view, but I think we owe the conversation to ourselves to talk and to really get into what's going on. Like I say, I see it as a reevaluative period, especially when it comes to melanated people across the globe. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Blessings and love. Yeah, you love your coffee too. Yeah, let me hear from the coffee people out there and the tea people.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm getting a little coffee support, so I feel a little more love because, you know, DJ did. He turned around and was like, man, you need to let that coffee go.
I'm telling you, I used to drink it like every morning for years, and I don't know, I just let it go. Like I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm not done. I'm gonna keep going with the coffee. But I did take some years off. When I was in corporate America, I used to drink like maybe a pot and a half of coffee before noon, almost every day. And then I took like I took a break. Like a whole decade. Like I just left coffee alone.
All right. Okay, then. All right. Oh, you got a decade to catch up on. Okay.
I got it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's not like I took a break, but I'm back into it. I'm back into the coffee thing now. And just a cup. 1 cup. That's all I need. No pots, just give me a good cup of coffee. So you all, we got some headlines out there. You know what? Every day there is a shooting to talk about. And today I do not want to talk about any shootings in Chicago. Is that all right with you all? DJ, is that cool with you?
Oh yeah, man. The news do that enough already. So we.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about any shootings this morning, but I do have some interesting news. You guys, come on in. Glad to see you out there. Did you know? Because we talked about vaccinations yesterday, but I found this to be interesting that the FDA is issued a warning. I don't know how loud the warning is, but they have issued a warning that for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, there is a rare autoimmune disorder linked to the vaccine. And I'm going to give everybody, and you guys can pull this up and look it up. It is called Guillain-Barré syndrome. Guillain-Barré syndrome. Tied to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, there have been over 100 cases, and it is a rare neurological disorder. And they're saying there is a loose link with it to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And so I think all of the information is important. Obviously, they say that this is a very low number out of the 12.5 million doses to only have 100 cases, but I just think it's something to just to keep your eye on. And they said it's affecting mostly men who are over 50.
Because I remember Johnson & Johnson actually had like another report a couple of months back about they shot, and it was only affecting people from like late 20s to like early 40s or something like that.
Okay.
So this is like the second report actually on Johnson & Johnson.
Okay.
So yeah, like I'm real skeptical. That's why when the doctor, she was saying that she was waiting on the Johnson & Johnson, it was kind of, I was kind of like, wow, really, but yeah, it's been like reports on the Johnson & Johnson shot for quite a while.
Yeah, and shout out to Dr. Audrey Tanksley. I see you out there, and she just commented, and it's in the article too, Doc, and that's why I want to stay balanced, but think it's worth mentioning that this syndrome can be acquired from any vaccine, and it actually affects people, across America and across the world. But it is it is a very relatively small part of the population, and they're saying that it has loose correlation to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Yeah, and Doc's also saying that she thinks that the government has something personally against them. So I will see. But we need to know it all. Whatever is happening, I think the more information you can put in and you can sift through, pull out what's useful. I'm not saying you got to take it all in and integrate it all, but you should know what's happening around you. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Of course, and that's the reason why I be like reading up on stuff and I try to soak in as much information as possible. The news is real hard for me to watch the news. Like I really cannot watch the news. I just think it'd be all lies.
Yeah,
I just think it'd be all lies, and I thought about that a lot. And what made me come to the final realization is watching that Laquan Miller story. Mm-hmm. Like if you ever watch that story. You watch the chief of police and all them people come on there and say that all the things that was happening, and then we find out that it wasn't that. It was like crazy. So like I try to obtain information, but just not from the news. Got you.
Well, and there's several different sources, right? You're no longer stuck with ABC, NBC, right? And there's so many sources out there, but you still have to sift carefully through it. Right, and then weigh it against something else, I think, in order to achieve some type of balance in your own particular thought pattern, and just weigh the information. So we just want to provide information so that you can weigh it out. So many of you already know or probably saw her, and there is a young lady who is the spelling bee champion, and she is African American. And I know, I won't say I know, but, sometimes names can get the best of me. But her last name is Avant-Garde, and her first name is Zayla. I believe that's her name. But anyway, I just want to give this young black girl, young black lady, a shout out because spelling, I think I dropped out of the spelling bee at like 6th grade.
Yeah.
I was like, the spelling bee is not my thing.
Yeah, like. You know what? And it really wasn't hard because they actually sent you home with all the words. Well, I know, like when I was in school, they like sent you home with all the words, but with all the possible words that can be on there, and you like learn them like that.
Yeah. Well, they sent us home with the words too. I think that it's just when you get into the upper levels and you're learning, you've got the etymology, right? You've got, is the root, is it Latin? Is it Greek, right? So because there's certain patterns or letter patterns that go with the words based on where they originate. And so that's how you gather your clues, because at the level she's doing the spelling bee, they're not taking the words home. They just, they may have, I don't know what the list looks like. I'm sure they give them areas to study, but I find it absolutely incredible that that level of recall, that level of study, and then just to be so young. So like I said, 6th grade was enough. I think that was the last spelling bee I was in.
That was it. I was like, yeah, that's it. I think I did good in 5th. I think I lost early in 6th, and then like that was it. I was like, forget it now. I'm too cool for it.
Yeah, too cool for the spelling bee, right?
I didn't even want to be in the spelling
bee. Right, and that's how you do, right? After you drop out, you like, oh man, it wasn't worth nothing anyway.
Let somebody else have it,
Yeah, absolutely. Give somebody else a shot. You know what I mean? I get it. And so I was really, I was just like, man, the spelling bee is not my thing. So shout out to those of you out there that the spelling bee is your thing. I've got some friends, man. They can almost spell anything. I have to keep Google or thesaurus. Before there was before the internet era really got going, I had to have a thesaurus at my desk or a dictionary at all times and make sure that things were being spelled right. Because it was not my forte, or is not my forte. So wake up, everybody. Welcome in. It is the Maze Jackson Show. Maze Jackson is not here. It is Sadiq sitting in for Maze and for Ruthie and for Todd and for the whole Mays Jackson family, Sonia. And we have DJ who's sitting in, also known as Reese the Ruler. He's sitting in back on the boards, and he is working with me this morning because they left me the whole studio. I'm in here by myself.
Well, we may be in here by ourselves, but it's 6:30 and WBGX has just joined us right now.
Oh, they just joined us? So let's do this. So let's welcome in the box. All right, it's great to have you all. 1570 AM. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. You are listening to the Mays Jackson Show. I am Sadiq. I'm sitting in for the whole entire family this morning with Reese the Ruler. He is on the boards. He's on the ones and twos. We are making the whole Soul Train. Let's get a little Soul Train. Let them know. We are pulling out of the station. It is 6:30 and the Soul Train. Here we go. Yeah.
We got us a Soul Train.
We got a Soul Train going on. We are pulling out of the station this morning. And we have a great show for you. We are being joined by Mr. Alden Lowry. He is the senior editor for race and community for WBEZ. And this morning we are going to ask the question, what happened to Mayor Lori Lightfoot? She was at one time a political darling, and it seems that she's turned into a pariah, possibly. And we want to ask the question, does race have anything to do with it? Does race have anything to do with it? And so Mr. Lowry is going to join us. We're going to take a brief break. We're going to bring Mr. Lowry in, and we're going to get this conversation started with the social media question of the day. Then we're going to move into our main topic. We don't know what else is going to happen, so we need you to wake up your neighbor, wake up somebody else, tell them to join the Mays Jackson Show. You're in with Sadiq. I got my man DJ in with me this morning, and we are rocking the whole entire 6 to 9 by ourselves on the Soul Train. We're going to take a brief break. We'll see you after these words.
WIIFTBP.
The Mays Jackson Show will be back after this break. Mays Jackson.
If you could make up a social media holiday, what would it be?
Randy said National Don't Let No One Put You Down Day.
No one. What you gonna do? So when they say something crazy, you slap them?
Be like May said. Randy said a Jukathon Day.
Man, we about 60 years old. I be done had a heart.
You gotta get your heart rate up.
Okay, not that far.
All right, Mario said my favorite one. My friends and I do what we call National Call Off from Work Day.
As a business owner, I don't. You don't like that? Yeah, I don't like that one.
Because I'm the boss of this thing.
We got Marcus Garvey Day from Remy too.
Oh, Marcus Garvey Day. All right, what will we do on Marcus Garvey Day?
Call off from work.
I'm going to need you to go ahead and come in tomorrow. That would be great. Okay?
Yeah, right. Every black holiday has something to do with calling off from work.
You're cool. I'm out.
How about National Join a Positive Black Organization Day? Because I don't want to be recruited. I don't want to be recruited and the brothers be like, thank you. Thank you. How about National Tell White People the Truth Day? Tell them how you really feel.
You can't handle the truth.
Why don't we call that National Black People Get Locked Up Day?
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Hello.
The most dangerous show in the morning.
You see me, you see him, my best friend. He hold me down like ankles fighting the waves. Apply not to my crime, yeah, I do time. Till I'm with you, I be counting the days. Yeah, ooh, been through so many things, but we always get through. Yeah, ooh, it ain't always perfect, but it's worth it. This is deeper than the surface. If I said I didn't love you, you would not know I'd be frontin'. Wiped all my scars away like it was nothing. Took the parts of me I tried to hide and make them something, like it was nothing. Ooh, Ooh, some magic, baby. Ooh, you know you drive me crazy. Ooh, you give me peace of mind. Ooh, let me tell you why. You make it easy. Say, to take it easy. Say, feel so easy. Say, easy to love. Say, to take it easy. Say, feel so easy. Say, easy to love. I never thought that I would give it to you, but now I don't think it's the time. I won't do it. I think it's cause the way you talk to me. Know how to say it without making me feel little. You're gracious even when you pop off on me. When you get done, I got a little something to drop off on you. Because you earned it with the time you took to put it that way. You got me liking to get put in my place. I didn't love you, you and I know I've been frontin'. Wiped all my scars away like it was nothing. Took the parts of me I tried to hide to make them something, something. Like it was nothing. Ooh, some magic, baby. Ooh, you know you drive me crazy. Ooh, you give me peace of mind. Ooh, let me tell you why. You make it easy. Say, to take it easy. Say, feel so easy. Say, easy to love. Easy to make it easy. Say, to take it easy. Say, feel so easy. Say, easy to love. You make it easy. You make it easy. You make it easy.
And now, traffic and weather.
Good morning. What's in it for the Black People Media? The time is now 6:37 a.m. and I am Reese the Ruler with your Chicagoland area traffic and weather report. On the Kennedy, O'Hare to the Loop, 19 minutes. Outbound to O'Hare, 17 minutes. On the Eden, inbound from Deerfield to the Exchange, 28 minutes. Outbound back to from the Exchange to Deerfield, 27. Eisenhower, inbound from Thorndale to the Loop, 30 minutes. Back out to Thorndale, 28. On the Stevenson, outbound from I-355 to the Dan Ryan, 29 minutes. Outbound back, 31. Bishop Ford from the I-80 inbound to the Dan Ryan, 49 minutes. Back out to I-80, 29. On the Dan Ryan, 18 minutes to the Loop, 15 minutes back to 95th. In today's weather, it is currently 70 and haze. It will be a high of 77 with a low of 68. I'm Reese the Ruler. Now back to me and him, Sadiq, on the Maze Jackson Show.
Back to the Maze Jackson Show. You are listening to the most dangerous show in the morning. This is What's in It for the Black People Radio. Maze Jackson. Maze Jackson, the most vociferous advocate for black people in the world.
Cause economically we are not equal. Waking up to lies, can't doze no more. I told y'all, yeah, this a dangerous show. Don't go to church if you ain't trying to help us. Don't even try to be around and can't protect us. We see the lies, not other politicians. We need money and no symbolism. It's Maze, it's Sonia, and Ruthie, and Todd, explaining how we all come from God, giving us tools to beat the odds. If we're united, our movement gon' stop. If they ain't tryna help us, they ain't tryna do nothing. We gotta do something, we gotta stop running. It's time to confront the problem. Really, you expect your oppressed to solve them. All the lies we heard before.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Wake up, Chicago. Wake up, Philly, D.C., Atlanta, New York. Wake up, world. It is the Maze Jackson Show. And sitting in for Maze Jackson, it is Sadiq on behalf of Ruthie, Todd, Sonia, and also in the booth, I have Reese the Ruler. He's with me today. What's happening, brother?
Wake up. Oh, I am good. I'm woke now.
You woke now?
I'm woke now.
That's what I'm talking about. You know, if you just let me have my coffee, we can do this. We can do this during the morning. Just let me have my coffee. It is so good to see you out there. We want to welcome again those of you that are listening from 1570 AM, The Box. We are in this morning on the most dangerous morning show in Chicago with the most vociferous advocate for black people, asking all the time, what's in it for the black people, Mr. Maze Jackson. And I am sitting in for him. I am Sadiq, and this is my last day.
Oh, man. It's like your last day of your job. You know how you...
Oh, man.
Feeling, you like, you know what? That's what happened.
Oh, man. I can sleep past 4.
Yeah.
Starting tomorrow morning. But I will be tuning in. I will be in the viewership and the listenership on tomorrow. So I'm excited to see how refreshed Mr. Jackson is when he gets back.
You know, it's a 50-50 chance I might be right here.
Oh, okay. 50-50 chance. Yeah. You want me to come in and work the boards with you?
Please. Hey,
I have no idea what I'm doing. So
I'm so used to like now, like Maze will text me like 5:50. So like now I like if I'm up, I'll wake up at 5 just to see if needed. And then by 6 I'm back to sleep.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. You know, we have to make it happen, and we certainly make it happen around here in the WIIFTBP studio. So we're just happy to be here. It is time for the social media question of the day. Are you ready, Reese?
Oh, yeah, I am ready. Yeah. You ready?
I'm ready.
It's time for the social media question of the day.
You see how I waited on it that time?
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, they got all the bells and whistles here in the morning. You know, I have a show. I do a show called The Green Side of Things. We'll be back in the fall. We're on summer break, but we don't have all those bells and whistles. But the Maze Jackson Show, this is really nice. Really, really nice. So the social media question of the day. You ready for this one? I want your input. You all that are listening out there, the social media question of the day is, should we only pull down Confederate statues or the statues of all celebrated slave owners from both the North and the South? Should we only pull down Confederate statues or all slave owners, celebrated slave owners, regardless of whether they are from the North or the South?
I think you pull them all down. You know, it's no gray area.
There's no gray area. So, and I'll tell you where this question comes from. So you all chime in with me. If you are got a little bit of this news, they pulled the third statue down in Charlottesville, Virginia. It was a Lewis and Clark statue, and it featured Sacagawea, right? She's a Native American woman who was on the expedition with them as a tracker or as a peace symbol to show that they were merely explorers and that they were not a part of like military action, right? So a Lewis and Clark statue featuring Sacagawea, a famous Native American woman, was taken down in Charlottesville, Virginia, making it the third statue to be taken down in the city. The statue was of two white men, Lewis and Clark, and the Native American Sacagawea, who was depicted tracking, according to historians. Those against the statue have said that she appeared to be cowering at the men's feet. And so this is the third statue that has been pulled down since the George Floyd incident. So I got into a conversation and with a few people, and they were excited that the Confederate statues were coming down, and there was a meme on Facebook that's kind of going around, and the meme talks about how it would sound as if there was a statue of Hitler, and and how would Jewish people feel if somebody was like, yeah, he's just a part of German history. As the statue, he was a part of German history. And how do black people feel when they see these Confederate statues? And so I kind of jumped into the conversation a bit. And to me, the whole pull down the Confederate statues is really not a black argument. It's really a white argument. And I say that because it was a American white male disagreement, right? The Civil War, right? This is disagreement because there were slave owners on both sides, right? Same slavery, same horrible captivity, same peace, regardless of whether you were with the North or the South. And so to me, if you're going to pull down Robert E. Lee and the other statues from the Confederate, might as well pull them all down, right? That's just my personal take on it. So what I did was I looked up an article. So for instance, Ulysses S. Grant is the general who's credited with the North and the winning in the North, right? But I wanted to take a look at Grant because I knew a little bit about him. He wrote his heroism into the White House. But he's also known as the last president who owned or who participated in slavery. He literally owned slaves. So because to the victor goes the spoils, the North gets to record the history as they would pen it, and then because the South lost, there is this this vilification of all of these Southern generals, plantation owners. But we also have to remember that the generals and the people that participated in the North were also slaveholders, including Ulysses S. Grant. So since Grant was celebrated, he is a former president. He was obviously on the right side of history, but he and his wife had been a slave owner her entire life, right? Like this is just a way of life for them. And so the Grants were slaveholders. Should the Ulysses S. Grant statues come down? So what do you all think out there in the WIIFTBP audience?
That's a tough one.
So, I want to know what you think. Type it in the chat. So talk to me. Reese the Ruler, how do you feel about it?
Abraham Lincoln owned slaves.
No, Lincoln didn't own slaves.
You sure?
According, well, I looked it up last night.
I read something that
the last president. Now, Lincoln didn't like black people. Let's be clear. Lincoln made it very clear he was very boisterous. He was very eloquent, and he actually wrote that black people were inferior. So, Lincoln was no, he didn't get down with black people like that. So, but Grant, according to history, including their history, was the last president. He was a slave owner. So my question to the WIIFTBP media audience: what's in it for the black people? While we're celebrating these Confederate statues being torn down, should the Grant statues come down as well?
It's based on how America want to write history, and I think right now we in a time and era where it's a lot of correction. So I think every statue right now is being viewed. Like I was all for the Christopher Columbus one. Like as a kid, that's crazy. I was 12 years old and I was in, I think it was fifth or sixth grade. It was sixth grade, and when the teacher read the story to me, for some strange reason, like I was like extra listening. So when they got to the part where it was like he discovered it, but the Native Americans, and like we just go back to the spelling bee, I had become understanding of words. I thought native mean of the land. Like these people were like already here, so we already corrected that. So I think America is on a path to like correct history. So, man, if they done wrong, man, even if that little bit of good can't outshine that, then man, tear it down.
Tear it down. What do you all say out there in the WIIFTBP audience? I'm seeing some comments. Tear them all down. I just think it's interesting, right? This is also just kind of a brief snippet of how history, how viewpoints are slanted. And when I got into the conversation, what was interesting to me was it seemed like there was a bit of, of us. Like, to me, we had no, I mean, obviously, other than getting out of slavery, but when you talk about who was a good master versus who was a bad master, like, they were all slaveholders. They were all slave owners. And when I was reading last night, not in particular to the Civil War, but just the presidents that owned slaves.
I think George Washington, didn't he own slaves?
Oh yeah, that's what I want to get to. But they actually have a
And that's supposed to be like the father of the United States, right?
Oh yeah, but that would only be par for the course. So I was looking up. They actually have an article where they talk about the not only the presidents that owned slaves, but how many slaves they owned. How many slaves they owned. So this is just interesting information. If you are tuned in, we want to thank you for joining us on the Maze Jackson Show. We are inside of the social media question of the day. Should we only pull down Confederate statues or the statues of all celebrated slave owners from both the North and the South? And so we just brought out the fact that Ulysses S. Grant, who was the president following the Civil War, he was a Civil War hero for the North, but he was also a slave owner. So, but interesting facts, just in case you did not know, George Washington, who could not tell a lie, the father of America, is recorded at personally owning or holding, right? It's interesting how they even phrase this, 600 plus slaves. Okay, 600 plus. Thomas Jefferson, how many you think?
800.
600 plus. James Madison. Now, these are presidents of the United States.
Oh, yeah.
James Madison. What do you think?
400 plus.
No, he's at 100 plus.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got Washington at 600 plus. They put the plus because,
they stopped counting to 600.
Calculate that. Jefferson.
It really was 1,000.
Jefferson is 600 plus. Madison, 100. James Monroe.
200 plus.
No, 75.
70. Okay, so it's starting to go down now.
Yeah, it's going down. 75 slaves for Monroe. Andrew Jackson.
50.
No, Andrew Jackson is 200 plus.
Yeah, he was like, y'all was doing it wrong.
Andrew Jackson was 200 plus. Martin Van Buren, I find this to be
300.
And you got to get this. You got to get this. This is just they're going with legal records. So even though they have these numbers, this does not account for slaves or for black people who were considered in some type of different servitude or maybe not on the ledger. So I just want to clarify this.
Oh, yeah.
This is straight business, right? This is on the ledger. Negroes on the ledger, okay? Martin Van Buren.
300.
Nope, one.
You only had one slave?
One slave on the ledger.
Oh, okay.
William Henry Harrison. How many do you think?
See, now it's getting tricky. 100.
No, he's at 11.
Okay.
He's at 11.
It's starting to have a little heart now.
Yeah. The numbers go down. John Tyler.
20.
29.
That
was a great guess. That was a great
there
guess.
You go.
John Tyler was at 29. James Polk.
35.
James Polk was at 56.
Okay, ain't too
56 slaves on recorded during his lifetime. Zachary Taylor. And Zachary Taylor, now get this, is president from 1849 to 1850, right? Something like that. How many slaves did Zachary Taylor?
For only 1 year, he sounded like he was toxic. I'm going to say he had to have at least 100. He had to have at least 100.
300.
I would say he had to have, listen, Tony.
300. He was
president.
He was 300.
He was like, he did. So I know he had some slaves.
Andrew Johnson.
100.
100. He had 9. He's listed having 9.
Right.
And then the last president is listed owning a slave is Ulysses S. Grant. Now, how many slaves? And then here's the catch, because I actually read Grant's story last night because he's celebrated. There's statues of him. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to get into this detail in slaves that he owned. How many slaves is he listed at owning, you think?
75.
1. But here's the catch to it. You know why he's listed as owning 1?
Why?
Because his wife is listed as owning the others.
Smart man.
You know what I mean? They've been playing, like, that's crazy, right? He's listed as owning 1 slave, but the other slaves on their plantation and inside of the family business, the other slaves are listed under the ownership of Mrs. Grant. So as a family, they owned more slaves, but as an individual, he is listed as owning 1 slave.
Does it say how many she owned?
I'd have to go back into the story, but they apparently did not have a large plantation. I guess at some point she might have owned upwards of 40 slaves. And then that does not take into account over a lifetime. Again, this is by the ledger, slaves that her father owned or her mother owned, because what the tradition was, and you saw a little bit of this in Roots, right? The tradition was, yes, Alvin, exactly. Part of the tradition was to take a young girl and she would grow up with slaves about her age, and probably they did young boys, but I read a little bit about Miss Grant. And what they would do was they would see how she would interact with the African children or the enslaved Africans, right? How she would act on the plantation and what type of slave master she would become. She would decide if she was going to be a little lenient or a little harsh, or how she would interact with her Negro slaves. And then when she became of age, meaning the young white girl, she would then be bestowed upon her onto her legal roster, onto her dowry, onto her ownership. Maybe start out with 10, 15, or depending on the size of the plantation, 20 slaves that would literally become hers. So very interesting reading last night. But what really struck me is this whole conversation, and people are happy about the pulling down of Confederate statues. But to me, that's just part of the American narrative, right? To the winner goes the spoils. And because the North actually won the war, we no longer concern ourselves with the slaveholders, the racist, all of the same activity that was going on and continued in the North, because the narrative is the Southern generals, the Southern slaveholders, these were really bad people. But the Northern slave holders, including the presidents of the United States, who held between themselves thousands of slaves, we don't even address that. So I found that to be real interesting. Apparently the audience does too. We appreciate you for commenting. But yes, to me, at a level playing field, it would make sense if we're talking about racism and the feeling you get when you see statues. It should be really a similar feeling when you see the Ulysses S. Grant statue. I know he was on the side of the victory, but he and his wife were committed slaveholders.
I guess they'd probably say he really only owned 1 and it's only documented. So I feel you, but that'll be a hard one to probably pull down. And he was the, president. He was assigned for helping winning the Civil War. I agree with you, but that's going to be a tough one. Like, he has only got 1.
Yeah, but only 1 is too many.
One is
too many. I really don't care. I'm sorry.
Many.
1 is absolutely too many.
But for America, I think America is going to say that 1 slave is probably going to value the fact of what he did for America over that.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I got it. But if we're having the conversation, because to me, a bit of the conversation feels like which massa was better, right? It's this whole point of racism, slavery. We're talking about the North versus the South. And I get it, right? I get it. The North won, and I'm sure that we are ecstatic that the North won, right? This whole releasing the Emancipation Proclamation, which they didn't find out until 2 years later in Texas, right? But, I'm sure there's some statues of those men and women up too. So while we are pulling down statues, the pulling down of Confederate statues just seems to me to be a little narrow, little myopic, a little focused, and a little guided, not a little, but a lot guided by the American narrative of the people in the North were these really, really good people. But when you start reading about the lives of these really, really good people, even the life of George Washington is very interesting because he was one of the largest landowners in the country. You know how he got his land?
No, I didn't get it.
They took it. They took it. They tell everybody, build yourself up by your bootstraps. Like they were in on the whole land grab, moving from the East Coast to the West Coast. And the Washington family was one of the largest landowners. Matter of fact, that's what he did prior to enlisting and going in his family, the Washington family. They owned like thousands of acres, not hundreds, thousands of acres. Like they would never, ever, 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 ever have to work again. The family.
I can believe it.
Yeah, of course. Of course. So just wanted to bring that out. So again, while we are focusing on pulling down Confederate statues, there are a lot of other slave holders, slave owners, the same cruelty, the same as it was applied in the South was also applied in the North. It's just that the North won, and so to the victor goes the spoils, and they are telling the story. And of course, historically, we have always lined up with the narrative from the North because the slaves were freed. And so that leaves inside of that narrative, those slave owners, slave holders from the North, they get a pass when it comes to statue pulling. And I just find that to be interesting because to me, again, it's all the same.
It's a slippery slope when you said like going down it, and I think it'll take time for us to really, because we will be like almost tearing down all the statues almost, of these people, because if you really look at statues, I guarantee the majority of them are slave owners. They come from the 1800s, in that era of when it was the norm to them, like they may did something, but they may profited off the slaves, like you said, like George Washington. They had came to thousands of acres of land, right? That's how they, made the name for themselves, right?
Absolutely.
So, and that was that at that time probably was of the norm. Not saying that it was right, but it was of the norm. So these statues that's out there, like how many black African American statues are there really out there?
Yeah, I mean,
it's not really too many. So when you what I'm saying, touch it up and you naming all these buildings and naming all these streets and stuff like that, they come from the white people. They had built everything, so it's a slippery slope because, like I said, damn near everything I had to come down.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. But let's talk about it. But let's have the conversation. Let's not avoid the conversation, because it's a tough conversation to have. And I think we have to have it white and black. I think that we have to come face to face with that. So just interesting as you guys are going through your pages and social media, do a little reading. I know that it can be exhausting sometimes. I know there are people who really dig into history, really love history. But every now and then, just pull up some of the central figures from the birth of America. You'd be surprised what you find out about how they conducted themselves in their private lives, what they owned, their relationship to slavery, the slave trade, because a lot of times the history is romanticized.
Right.
And so just check it out, right?
Well, I say it's slow, slippery. Like that's the majority of them. So when you tearing down, it'll be almost tearing down like America for white people.
Uh-oh.
I'll just tell you what it is. You're going to start pissing them off. Then you're going to, because it's going to, it's going to be like who? Like you said, the father of America is who?
George Washington.
How many slaves did he recordedly own?
300 plus.
He was 3 or 6.
Oh, he was 600 plus.
six,
My
right.
bad. He was 600 plus. So that literally means thousands of slaves.
Right.
Somebody in the comments said, whatever it is, you can triple those numbers.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean?
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's when you stop counting. You know, they don't say so. If that's who we call it off, like now, what do we do? Do we say that he's no longer the father of America?
I mean, I think it all depends on your relationship to him. I think he's absolutely the father of America, but that's what America is.
So do you take down a statue of George Washington?
I don't think they would take down. Here's what I don't. Let me be honest with you. I don't care. He was a slave owner and a slave holder. He was just, to me, right, whether it was accepted, it was wrong. One slave is too much, is too many. Until we reckon with that part of the history, I'm not saying that Americans, I don't know what black Americans would think. I certainly know that white Americans would not want to tear down George Washington statues. But again, this was not built for us.
It wasn't.
So
they on our money.
So yeah, this was not built for us. So yeah, just as you're navigating that particular conversation, let's be aware of what really happened on the ground as we are in our feelings about certain things, because I think we feel a certain way about the northern piece and we feel a certain way about the southern piece. But I guarantee you one thing, Reese the ruler, the whip felt the same on the Washington plantation as it did on the Robert E. Lee plantation, and the whip felt the same way on the Ulysses S. Grant plantation. I bet you it was no difference in that whip tearing into the skin and to the backs of the slaves.
They're going to say, those guys didn't whip them. They just owned them. They just were servants.
Yeah. Anyway, we got to move on. That the social media question of the day, because we could do a whole 3 hours, especially since now, beyond the coffee, my blood is boiling right now. So let's do this. We're at the top of the hour. We've got Mr. Alden Lowry. He is the senior editor at WBEZ. He's over race and community. We're going to have a conversation to him. What happened to Lori Lightfoot? And we're going to try to have a real balanced discussion. We're not going to work to push any buttons. Want to be balanced in this, but she came in with very high numbers, high expectations. I think that her approval rating went from somewhere around 80%, and now she is under 50. So for those of you all that out there that voted for Lori, that are still in her corner, what's happening? What's going on? We're going to talk to Mr. Alden Lowry. So again, grab your coffee, grab your tea, your donut, your bagel, whatever it is you're having this morning. Wake up with us. It is the Mays Jackson Show on WIIFTBP Media. I am Sadiq. I'm in with Reese the Ruler. We're here this morning. We're going to talk about what happened to Lori Lightfoot after this break.
The Mays Jackson Show will be back after this break.
WIIFTBP.
What's in it for the black people? What's in it? What's in it for the black people? I'm in it. What's in it for the black people? What's in it? What's in it for the black people? I'm in it. For the black people. For the black people. For the black people. For the black people. For the black people, for the black people, for the black people, for the black people. What's in it for the black people? Let's hear it. What's in it for the black people? Don't fear it. What's in it for the black people? Let's hear it. What's in it for the black people? Don't fear it. For the black people, for the black people, for the black people, for the black
people, for the black people, for the black people, for the black people, for the black people. What's in it for the black people? You know it. What's in it for the black people? Let's show it. What's in it for the black people? You know it. What's in it for the black people? Let's show it. For the black people, 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 for the black
and now, traffic and weather.
For the black people.
And now, traffic and weather.
Good morning. What's in it for the Black People Media family? The time is now 7:11 a.m. and I am Reese the Ruler with your Chicagoland area traffic and weather report. Today on the Kennedy, y'all, get out there. Traffic is picking up as it is now from O'Hare to the Loop up to 37 minutes. Outbound back from O'Hare, 60 minutes. On the Eden, inbound from Deerfield to Exchange, 32 minutes. Back out to Deerfield, 27 minutes. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Thorndale to the Loop, 47 minutes. Back out to Thorndale, 32. On the Stevenson, inbound from I-355 to the Dan Ryan, 42 minutes. Back out, 34 minutes. Bishop Ford from I-80 to the Dan Ryan, 70 minutes. Back out, just 30. On the Dan Ryan, 18 minutes to the Loop, 15 minutes to 95th. It is currently right now in today's weather 70 with a haze. It will be a high of 77 and a low of 68. I'm Reese the Ruler. Now back to Brother Sadiq on the Maze Jackson Show.
Back to the Maze Jackson Show. You are listening to the most dangerous show in the morning. This is What's in It for the Black People Radio. Maze Jackson. Maze Jackson, the most vociferous advocate for black people in the world.
For Ruthie Moore, for Todd Stroger, I am the host of the Maze Jackson Show, asking every single day, what's in it for the black people? And if you don't like it, you can still tell them Maze said, Mayor Lightfoot, man, we ain't accepting that. We ain't accepting that. Let's go. Yeah. Let's get down to business and go ahead and address the facts, man. Lightfoot seems more lesbian than black. Rahm Emanuel's another case. He was just as tired. 50 closed schools left much to be desired. Police had Anjanette naked on that body cam. They suppressed the footage so it couldn't touch a lot of hands. Reminds me of that 16 shots in that cover-up. Both of them similar, so I went and dug it up. George Floyd killed, a lot of riots happened in the town. Southside burned and they wouldn't let them bridges down. Grandmother sick, need a prescription and plus a couple groceries. You gon' have to travel just to get it now. COVID-19 out here shutting all the business down. Not enough SBA loans to even give around. So many failed businesses that you could put them in the pile. If you don't survive the pandemic, it's gonna sit you down. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. Shout out to Willie Wilson, hope one day you get to send it. We need some different players in the game to handle business. Too many shady characters like Madigan and Blago. But when you really break it down, it's typical Chicago. City full of gangsters, it's what the land was built on. Same streets with hood legends, DNA gets spilled on. Carjackers out here lurking, trying to get they steal on. Looking for a block to put them Hellcat wheels on. Let this give bogus appraisals niggas was a red line. Car crackers out here getting minimal fair time. And up the seal carry, I stay with the pipe. But Illinois gun laws giving minimal rights. Stay up on the swivel, make sure I'm moving tight. Check all of my mirrors when I pull up to the light. Pick my homie up from out of town, man, he caught a flight. He was hella nervous, told him, shorty, this is a way of life. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks. We sing, dance, play ball, entertain, and crack jokes. Government infested black neighborhoods with crack smoke. System that milked us so bad, we got lactose. Still trying to find out what's in it for us black folks.
Oh, yeah. Wake up, Chicago. It is the Maze Jackson Show, and it is your man, Sadiq. I'm sitting in for the one and only Maze Jackson, the most vociferous advocate on behalf of black people, and sitting in for Todd, Stroger, Ruthie, Sonia in the booth. I got my man, Reese the Ruler, that's with me. What's happening? How you feel, brother?
I'm doing good, man. I see we got a guest in here, man. I'm ready for him.
Yeah. Let's get to it. And we see you all coming in. Please, we need you to come on in this on and get on what we got, the Soul Train. Play it for me, Reese. Yeah, get on the Soul Train. Good morning, everybody. That's what's happening. May said we couldn't have the plane, but he left us with the Soul Train. Soul Train. And that's what we're doing this morning. We're having this conversation, and we want to welcome you all to the show. And we see you out there on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, on the Box 1570 AM. And we are honored to have with us the editor of senior editor of WBEZ of Race and Community, Mr. Alden Keith Lowry. Mr. Lowry, how are you this morning?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. Good to be on with you.
Hey, it's a pleasure. I Googled you on Facebook and found your middle name. So just wanted to throw that out there for the people in case there's another Alden Lowry that works for WBEZ. Appreciate having you this morning. So, Mr. Lowry, when we talked the other day, you presented an interesting question, and I thought it was worth delving into in terms of what happened to Lori Lightfoot, and does race have anything to do with it? And I'm really excited about getting into this conversation. But before we do that, did you happen to hear the social media question of the day?
I did not.
Okay. Well, real quick, the question was, they pulled down the third statue in Charlottesville yesterday of Lewis and Clark and Sacagawea, right, who was their Native American counterpart as far as folklore is told. They pulled the statue down, but they'd already pulled down Robert E. Lee and these other Confederate statues. And there's a movement to keep pulling down Confederate statues. But the social media question of the day was, should we only pull down Confederate statues or the statues of all celebrated slave owners from either the North or the South? For instance, Ulysses S. Grant, who was the war hero for the North, was a slave owner. So should we pull his statue down? What are your thoughts? Real quick.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would say yes. I think if we take a real accounting of the horrors of that time, and our rhetoric is that we want to be true to racial justice, and we want to reckon with that history, in this so-called racial reckoning that we're in. And maybe we start with the low-hanging fruit, which is the people who fought for the institution of slavery to continue to the degree that they wanted to secede from the country. But yeah, those who participated in that institution were also violating the values that we are saying that these Confederate figures violated. Yeah, I think, look at Rushmore, perhaps one of the most celebrated statues, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And so but if we're true to our words, then I would say, yeah, we should be taking a look at in all the ways in which we have all the ways in which we have committed these kinds of injustices, and because keeping those monuments up, whether they wore blue or gray in the Civil War, is still kind of propagating that whole line of thinking. If we want to talk about who was right and who was wrong, there were a lot of people who were wrong in the history of the creation of America, no matter where they stood on the issue of slavery. So, or what I should say is where they stood on the issue of the Civil War, because there is a very clear line to be drawn between who supported, as you point out, between who supported the institution of slavery and who fought on which side of the war. So the war was about some states wanting to secede from the Union. That's truly what the war was about. Certainly, the issue of slavery was one of the motivating factors, but that war was about the country being split in half, more so than about the morality or the injustice of slavery itself. So,
yeah, that's and really quick. So I think I made the statement that whether it was on the plantation for Ulysses S. Grant or whether it was on the plantation for Robert E. Lee, the whip felt the same for all of the slaves. So I'm gonna come from that perspective and not draw any lines based on what American folklore, propaganda, or what the narrative is. Really quick, on his ledger during his lifetime, how many slaves did George Washington own? Really quick, and then we're gonna jump into Lori Lightfoot. I'm just curious. You have an idea?
Maybe a handful. I want to say I don't.
What's
remember.
a handful? Throw a number to it, real quick.
5.
George Washington on his roster is listed as owning 600 plus slaves.
600.
Yeah, you ready to salute Mount Rushmore now?
Oh no, I was never ready to salute Mount Rushmore.
I got it, but you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, 600.
Yeah, 600 plus. Thomas Jefferson, how many?
Oh my God. 50 maybe. I don't know. I'm just throwing
600 plus.
Yikes! The first and the third president of the U.S.
The first and the third president of the U.S.
Oh my God.
James
I guess
Madison, fourth president. How many? He went down. The number went down.
Oh, okay. 100?
Yeah, 100. He's 100 plus. Andrew Jackson, the seventh president. How many slaves?
150. 200.
You still on the under. You still on the under. Let's go down in history though, because the numbers go down as you go as it would go down. Zach Taylor, the 12th president of the United States. How many?
Just because you were saying they were going down, I would say 10.
Nah, he gave a rebirth to it, 300 plus. He was they're going down. I'm not. Yeah, we're not gonna go down. We need to know these numbers, man. This
is definitely a Republican, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, yeah. In that day, he was. No, I think he was a Democrat, but that's a whole nother. Because it flipped. It flipped. And we align with whomever. Anyway, I don't even want to go into that, but. Yeah, but the numbers are important, I think, because it just, it paints a different picture than the folklore that we get. But yeah, I just wanted to, toss that around with you.
600 slaves?
George, 600 plus.
Goodness.
600 plus.
Wow.
Now listen, so in all fairness to the narrative, Ulysses S. Grant is listed as only owning one slave. But you know why? And this went for all of them. Do you know why he's only listed as owning one slave?
Oh, maybe somebody else, maybe like the wife or somebody else owned.
You're such an intelligent guy. The wife owned them. So George Washington may have owned 800 slaves, but we don't know how many Martha owned. So the Washington family could have owned, 3,000 slaves at one. Anyway, you get the point, right? Because this is record keeping. Yeah. Yes. So anyway, just interesting little facts. But Alden, you didn't come here to talk about slaves, maybe. We came here to talk about the current mayor of Chicago, Mayor Lori Lightfoot. And we want to have a fair and balanced discussion because I believe as black people, no matter what we do, there is a, it can be tainted in the larger media space, but certainly Mayor Lightfoot came in with a lot of promise, a lot of hope. It was an awkward time for the city. This is pre-COVID, obviously. You presented the question. We were talking. I was like, man, that sounds like a great thing to tackle. How does Mayor Lightfoot go from, in some cases, being a political darling to today seeming like a pariah, seeming like somebody who, is toxic in certain areas, and really does her being black have anything to do with it? So I want to throw that out there and see where you want to start this morning, because I got a bunch of questions. But yeah, in your viewpoint, how does this major slide happen only in a couple of years?
I mean, it's been a tough couple of years. I guess that's one thing to point out. I think it's been a tough couple of years for at least the last year and a half. It's been a tough time for everybody. So I can imagine there being kind of hard political questions happening in a bunch of spaces. And the mayor has had also some moments that have caught headlines. Some by her own doing, some not. And being in that kind of a spotlight can also kind of turn up the heat a little bit. But first and foremost, the city's in a tough time. The pandemic and everything that's kind of gone on with that. Everything that happened with regard to the wake of George Floyd's murder. In Chicago was a hot spot, and there were a lot of decisions that the mayor made in the course of all of that, and trying to, protect the city, particularly downtown, which sparked a lot of furor, if you will, from people, because it was, diametrically opposed to everything that she talked about when she campaigned, about thinking about the neighborhoods and so on, particularly Black and brown neighborhoods. So yes, there have been moments when, she's had her kind of her foot caught in the mouth a little bit. So, but even with that being said, I've been somewhat surprised by, kind of this fall. The approval ratings have tanked, and 2 years is not a lot of time. I guess in the grand scheme of things, a lot can happen in 2 years, but halfway through the term, for the luster to kind of seemingly worn off completely, and she's no longer this darling, I think speaks to, just kind of how hard that job is, how quickly things can turn in politics. But then I think it's also a statement of perhaps how there wasn't necessarily a lot of substance to, and I'm not trying to say there isn't substance to Lori Lightfoot. I'm just saying I think the love affair that had developed with Lori Lightfoot over a relatively short amount of time during the final weeks of the mayoral campaign in 2019. That's when she became this darling, if you will. And that was in the face of a lot of bigger names like Tony Preckwinkle and Bill Daley and other folks who seemingly had kind of fallen out of favor with folks, and she kind of emerged. But people didn't know Lori. They didn't know her history, her background. They didn't know where she would really fall once she was in this seat, because she didn't have a record or a history. So I think it also shows that while she was kind of on this pedestal, especially when you think about how she just crushed Tony Preckwinkle in the runoff, seemingly she was, Chicago's overwhelming choice for mayor. But I think what we're seeing now is that that victory was perhaps less about what people really knew about Lori Lightfoot and what people really liked about her, and more about her maybe being in the right place at the right time and going up against a candidate who had fallen quite a bit in terms of her standing. So So yeah, but it's been an interesting slide, and yeah, I was curious. Like, okay, I mean, I have my own thoughts about how race plays into this to some degree, but yeah, I'm perplexed in some ways that she's fallen so far so fast, and I don't know if she's going to be able to pull herself out of this come 2023 if she has designs on running for reelection. Maybe a lot can happen in these final 2 years that can kind of put her back in a warm light for people, but right now it seems like she's in a deep hole.
Yeah. So apparently, her approval rating last summer at this same time was she had a 76% approval rating. By the time we get to the fall, she has lost 16 points on that and is at 60%, and that's for the fall of 2020. And by the time we get to this summer, the summer of 2021, the last poll shows that she has for a 48% approval rating. So there is literally about a 30-point slide in 12 to 13 months. Which is an incredible slide for somebody, sitting in the seat. But obviously we've had COVID. The city has, she lost support with the restaurant industry and many industries based on the handling of whether the city was going to open, close down, those types of things. But I have a question for you related to race. I really want to delve into that. Does race have anything to do with her approval? But my question to you, and I don't know if the data shows this, but has she lost more support from black people or from white people, right? When we're looking at these numbers, or is it equal loss in faith by both based on the group that supported her as she came in as mayor? Is that support mostly lost because we have some specific incidents that were related to the black community, like Anjanette Young, which we'll talk a little bit about. And then we have the business owners on the other side from the white community who weren't particularly happy with her handling of some of the COVID situations. But what's been the bigger loss, black support or white support?
Not all of the polls, the ones that I've seen anyway, have had splits. The one poll that I did see, and I think it was the most recent poll, one of the papers, either the Sun-Times or the Tribune, wrote about it. But they mentioned that there was a question that was a part of the poll which asked, "Do you trust Lori Lightfoot?" And I think her numbers were higher among black respondents than they were among white respondents. And I don't remember the numbers. Don't quote me on the numbers. But I think the numbers for African Americans was maybe in the high 30%, somewhere around there. And the numbers were lower for among the white respondents. They were in the low to mid 20%, if I'm remembering those numbers correctly. And like I said, I just remember the numbers were higher among African Americans than they were among whites, but I might be off on the actual figures themselves. So that's the only thing that I've seen that has kind of offered that. Just from memory, though, in terms of, you mentioned that there were, she's had some very vocal critics who are black. I mean, she's got people on the city council, black aldermen who, she got into that, kind of nose to nose confrontation with Jeanette Taylor. If you remember that at one city council meeting. She's there are other black aldermen who have not been big fans or supporters. Anthony Bills, when it comes to mind. But there have been a number of people. There was one really big protest. It was like 300 people gathered outside of her home to protest her, and those were largely Black and Latino community organizations and activists. Some were even chanting, "It's not enough to be Black," and they had a laundry list of concerns, from housing to policing. To economic development in communities of color. So she's had vocal critics on both sides, if you will, of the racial line. Seemingly there aren't a whole lot of people who are happy with Lori Lightfoot. Very renowned Black business leader Marty Nesbitt and a few others circulated a petition in support of Lori Lightfoot. I want to say earlier this year to try to give her a little bit of a boost. And I think they got a number of people, dozens of business leaders to sign on to that. And I think that was in the wake of a lot of the criticisms that she got around her handling of the pandemic, particularly as it relates to business. So it's not that she's lost support in all corners, but yeah, the luster is worn off for a lot of people, it appears.
Got it. So we see a little more trust or faith still in the Black community than in the white community in terms of support for the mayor. And interestingly enough, she was asked about her tenure, and she was on Chicago Tonight, and they asked her a question about her criticism as mayor, and she responded and said that her criticism as mayor was either based in race or was based in sex, right, as being a female. And she said that 99% of her criticism was based in the fact that she was Black or that she was a woman. And so my question to you is, was she a bit, I don't want to use the word cop-out, or, I think this is a very grand statement to say that 99 is basically 100. So basically, it has nothing to do with government management or how issues are being handled in City Hall. She's either being criticized because she's Black or because she's a woman. What did you think about those comments?
Well, I think she could have. I think she could have handled that one a little better. I think there's an argument to be made that the level of criticism that she's received, and in some corners is very clear, right? She, Tucker Carlson, took her to task, called her the worst mayor in America, said she was racist, and there've been a number of people who charged her with being a racist. I think primarily because of her decision to only speak with Black reporters or non-white reporters, perhaps, for interviews about her 2-year anniversary in office, and which was a decision that grew a lot of criticism. So there are those critics who you could argue very clearly are people coming from the standpoint of race or gender or her sexuality. But yeah, I think 99% saying that is ridiculous. There are a number of decisions that the mayor has made that that people have been critical of, purely on the basis of the decision itself. And I think it's disingenuous for any leader to say that. But that being said, I do think there is a space to have a conversation around how those factors have been a part of the pushback that she's gotten. I just think that you should probably handle that, somewhat in a way that is respectful to the fact that, you've maybe made the wrong decisions in some instances. So yeah, to wipe it that way is interesting. But yeah, I mean, on this show, I think any Black person in leadership, I think any woman in leadership is going to get pushback because they are Black. You make a wrong move, and you're Black or you're a woman, the negative feedback is going to be harsher and it's going to be more prolonged. Quite frankly, because there are people out there who don't believe you should be there. They don't believe that you're the best person for that job. And this is even from people who may have supported you. And the thing that I took away from the poll showing that white folks were less trusting of Lori Lightfoot, I think is kind of part and parcel of that. Lightfoot, was a choice. She was a choice between two candidates, and I think it should be noted she was a choice between two Black women. So in some respects, if you're going to vote in the election, you had to vote for a Black woman. So let's not get it twisted and say that because Lori Lightfoot became mayor, it was some awakening by Chicago residents to, the notion of, yes, I can be led by a Black woman mayor. I don't think people should come away with that reaction at all. There were two Black women on the ballot. So right. If you were participating, you were going to vote for a Black woman. But I think there were probably a number of white Chicagoans who voted for Lori Lightfoot with the thought that, this is going to be a good thing. But maybe deep down, they had their doubts. And so the mayor has had a rough couple of first years. And so those doubts are now, probably really taking over, and I think the word trust is kind of indicative of that. Do you trust this person? And a lot of a majority of white Chicagoans said they don't trust Lori Lightfoot any longer. And like I said, I wonder if that's because the notion is, hey, I'm going to give this person a chance. She said a lot of good things, but there's some level of distrust that existed there from the very beginning. And I think race is certainly a part of that. I mean, even some of the, for folks to have called her a racist because she, in the face of an industry, the media industry that I'm a part of, that is overwhelmingly white, even more so amongst the folks who are reporting on the mayor, who are following City Hall. And these were points that Lightfoot made in her comments about this decision. Now, I certainly think that decision that she made was bold. I don't think that she should have done it, but I get it. And I think the takeaway was that this problem is so bad, she's taken this extreme step. But people missed all of that, and they were just focusing on the fact that she made this move. And for people to call her a racist based on that, when she was right about the lack of representation of journalists of color. So if you're going to call her, I just think it's ludicrous for people to call her a racist. Anyway, so but to me, if that was the refrain from a number of white voices, and not just Tucker Carlson. I mean, there were people who are liberal folks in the Chicago area who were charging her with racism. And so if people have going to that extent to criticize her and using that kind of language, to me, I think that even those folks who were on board with Lori Lightfoot, white supporters of hers, to me, it tells me that support, even from the beginning, perhaps was somewhat fleeting. I think let's acknowledge we still live in a world where race is still a very strong determinant in how people will react to you. And Black folks across every aspect of society in this country that have made mistakes have seen the negative backlash and seen it very harshly. When we were kind of discussing this segment, I talked about even in the world of sports. Think about the number of times when a Black athlete has been in the news for something that was questionable, and how far those individuals have fallen. Think of one example I always think about is Black coaches who have a bad year and never get a job again. And at the same time, you have white coaches who have bad stints and they're hired or rehired like retreads. They'll get a second job, a third job. They may have to wait a year or a couple of years before they get a re-up. But you cannot be perfect and be white and get second and third and fourth chances. But if you're Black and you mess up, you often don't get a second chance. And I think what's happening with Lori Lightfoot is an illustration of that. And again, that's not to say that she shouldn't be criticized, because like I said, there are a lot of things that she's done that I think you can make strong arguments in opposition to them. But if Lori Lightfoot were to run for re-election today or 2 years from now, I think we will see just how far she's fallen out of favor with a number of folks. And if you looked at that split by race, I think you will see that there will be more white supporters who will have left the Lori Lightfoot bandwagon for good than you'd see among Black folks in Chicago.
Well, I tell you what, and I'm actually watching a very interesting dynamic, Mr. Lowry, because as you talk in some sort of balance, there are a lot of dynamics at play because, as you know, we are in front of the Lion's Den, and the main lion, Mr. Mays Jackson, has been very vocal about the displeasure in terms of Mayor Lightfoot and how she has handled situations. And really, when you look at it, balanced or not, even if you take Anjanette Young, right, and the legal refusal to release a tape, if you just take what was it, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago with Alderman Taylor in the chambers of the city council, and then you could go, like, if we just break it down to the Black audience, even specifically with the audience that we have this morning, Mayor Lightfoot has lost whatever respect or any goodwill amongst a good segment of the Black community in particular. So it is interesting to see the reaction, even when we talk about her against larger society or being called a racist, or how her appearance is to white America, white Chicago. Quite frankly, I don't think there are Black people who really care, right? They talk about her decision with the elected school board. They talk about some of her policy decisions. But basically, her personality, how she has come off to Black people, and how she has been extremely rude, how she has dealt with certain aldermen in the city council, and how she has dealt with the Black constituency across Chicago. So I'm curious as we talk about her. Obviously, she's lost support, even when you talk about the Black community having a higher trust factor, right, in the 30s, and whites even lower than that. I'm curious, and maybe you don't have the answer to this, and I'm curious as to where the LBGTQ community, and I may have gotten the letters wrong, and I'm not trying to be any kind of way, but I'm curious as to where that community is in terms of standing behind or any type of positioning with the performance of Mayor Lightfoot. Have there been any information, any polls that say, that the LGBTQ community is behind her in Chicago? Because they're a very vocal community.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I don't know where that community stands in terms of its support of Mayor Lightfoot. I haven't seen any polls or any editorials or other kinds of public statements from news organizations out of that community, or prominent individuals that are part of that community who've spoken out. I haven't seen them, and they're very well may have been. As you mentioned, it is a vocal community, but yeah, I'm just not aware of where she may stand.
Yeah, and that's interesting because that's a big part. Even in her response, she talked about being Black. She talked about being a woman, but very rarely does she bring up being gay. And so that was even when she was on Chicago Tonight. It's kind of like it's this thing that floats around, but you have a very vocal, very active, very supportive community, and there is literally, it seems to be some silence there, right? So we're talking about her being a woman, we're talking about her being Black, but that's interestingly not talked about very much.
Yeah, I think in those spaces where she was commenting about the criticisms that she received, it didn't come up, which is somewhat interesting. But I've heard her on occasion make mention of being gay, and that she was, proud from that standpoint to be Chicago's first openly gay mayor. But yeah, interestingly, that at least doesn't seem to have come up in these conversations about the criticisms that she's received and what she thinks about that. But yeah, there to the point around Black folks. Yeah, she has burned a lot of bridges with Black folks. I mean, she's been symbolically, I think, saying a lot of the right things. She's made certain moves. In the face of the pandemic, she's talked about how, she wants her administration to be very thoughtful about the disproportionate impact in communities of color, and has taken some steps to try to do that. But the execution has not been sufficient enough for a lot of Black folks. And then she's made a lot of very clear moves that have gone against that ethos. The elected school board was one of those moments when you just kind of scratch your head. She campaigned on it, and then she went completely against it. That protest that was outside her home, I mentioned that those were largely people of color, largely Black folks. The CTU was a big influencer in organizing that event. And on schools, there've been tons of things that have happened. We've essentially gone through a strike and a threat of another one. All of the handling around reopening schools and haggling around the terms of that. It's just been it's been a torturous thing to watch in some respects. And then while she's kind of getting raked over the coals around the violence and what is happening, she's also kind of going in a head-to-head battle with the CPD itself. And so from the vantage point of Black constituents living in communities where the carjackings, the shootings, all of those things are up over where they were this time a year ago. They're up from where they've been when she took office. You're dealing with that, and then you're also dealing with all of the reforms that she talked about wanting to implement when she was a part of the police accountability, when she was part of the police board, when she was a part of the police accountability task force, when she campaigned. She hasn't really gotten a lot of traction on many of the very pivotal reforms that she talked about and said that she supported. So if you're in these Black communities where you've been, the victim of violence, you've also been the victim of police brutality and misconduct. You're not getting any kind of satisfactory performance from the mayor on those issues, at least. So yeah, it's understandable that there'd be a lot of folks who were like, hey, it's great that we have a Black woman mayor, but as people were saying, as they were chanting, it's not enough to be Black, and so I think the pushback that she's getting from those corners on those issues is very much warranted.
I know this is going to be a silly question, but do you have a dog?
Yes, I do. And yes.
And it's breakfast time.
I think it doesn't matter with him. Any time is a time to run through the home and bark uncontrollably. And yeah, he's on his own program, man. We took him to obedience school and didn't really seem to do much.
Yeah, kind of wasted your money there. But say good morning to the family, because they are obviously making breakfast burritos, sandwiches, cereal, and whatever else is good there in the Lowry household. We appreciate you for taking your time out this morning. Okay, so I got a question for you before we butt up to this break. I mean, we could go down the list. You talked about it. The audience that is watching us, you're on obviously Facebook Live. We've got YouTube Live. And we also have 1570 AM. But to that end, we've got COVID, teacher strike, violence in the city, Anjanette Young. We've got strife with aldermen. We have business community leaders, the restaurant owners who totally pulled support based on her handling of businesses opening back up and the restaurant industry in Chicago. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. And obviously, our audience is like thumbs down for the mayor, right? That's like the most, just there's an overall thumbs down, right? For everybody that's, I won't say everybody. There are a few people in the audience it's not a total thumbs down for. Can she repair this? What policies? I saw somebody put in the comments that if she opened an office for Black Americans in Chicago, she could do something favorable. Can this be repaired, or are we looking at the next mayoral candidate that Black people want to see in the office? And I know Mays and they on the Mays Jackson show dive into this really deeply at certain points. But we're 2 years out. Right, in your estimation, is it? We've already got buyer's remorse, right? You're talking about low numbers, a 48% overall approval rating. You're talking about trust rating in the 30s and in the 20s. So is this a burned bridge? Is this done? And can she turn this around, first of all? And then what should we start doing in your estimation as Black people? Should we be looking for the next mayor?
So I think she's done. I think she's done. I think her story was a very interesting one, a good one. You think about it. She threw her hat in the ring, and she was considered a long shot, and was very much a long shot up until the very end. I would have think that it would have been reasonable if she had closed her campaign down when polls were showing her in terms of single digits. And then granted, that was in a field of like 14, 15 candidates or something like that, and maybe single digits isn't necessarily something to scare you away. But I think it's a great story that she became mayor, and it in some respects should the takeaway should be that anybody who can marshal the resources to mount a campaign has a shot in this city if they push the right buttons and get connected to the right people, and perhaps if you come along at the right time. And I think she came along at the right time. But I think the damage is just too far gone. To me, I think she would really need to have an anchor in a particular part of town or among a particular constituency that could hold her up. And without that, I don't think it. Now, with that being said, a 48% approval number is still not horrible. I mean, that's still 48%, almost half voters who say, you know what, we think you're doing an okay job. And if those numbers remain at that level, in 2 years or shorter, just shy of 2 years, when, it'd be time to vote again, conceivably she could win re-election if those 48%, stick with her. So I don't think all hope is lost. I just don't see how it happens. I think that slide is going to continue, and particularly for a Black candidate, without overwhelming support from Black people, I just don't think you can win. I just don't think you can. And Lori Lightfoot, rest assured, I think when 2023 rolls around, there are going to be a number of people who are going to stand up and say, you know what, I want to be Chicago's next mayor. And I would not be surprised if a lot of them are notable, white, and well-resourced. And the support that Lori Lightfoot got along the liberal lakefront and in other parts of the North Side, I think it'd be hard-pressed that she'd maintain that support if there were other candidates in the race like that. So with that being said, I just don't see how the ship gets righted to the degree that it would need to be in order for her to win re-election. In terms of what Black folks should be looking for, I think is a candidate who has some heft, political heft.
Hey, Alden, before I want you to continue with that thought. We're getting ready to say goodbye to the listeners on the box 1570 AM. I want to remind them that you can just jump over and join us on Facebook Live, on YouTube Live. So pull your phone out, pull your iPad out, whatever you got, your Android, whatever it is, join us in the conversation. And we want to thank you for listening with us this morning. And that's to the 1570 AM audience. So Alden, go ahead and continue with what you were saying.
Sure. I think there was a lot that Lori said that in the very beginning and I still think that she's that her heart, if you will, or her mind are in the right place in terms of policy, and so she talked a good game. So Black voters want a candidate who's going to talk a good game, who's going to know, hey, look, the specter of race is very much a part of why the city looks the way it looks, why it works the way it works, why it doesn't work in some neighborhoods as a result of that, and that they're very open and honest about that, and will openly talk about that. But then they also have to be someone who's shown a track record of being able to address those issues. In her work as an attorney and her work in the public space, Lori hadn't necessarily demonstrated the ability to do that. That's not to say that means that she can't. It just means that she didn't necessarily have a track record of doing that. And so I think Black folks want to find a candidate that has demonstrated the ability to work within some political arena and get things done, and have talked and advocated openly for Black communities and done it in the face of political pressure. I think there have been times when Lori has swayed from that, when the political pressure to have a more mainstream approach or viewpoint served her. So Black folks should be looking for somebody who's talked the talk and also walk the walk in some form or fashion. And quite frankly, there are, I think, a number of people out there who might fit that bill, but it's probably not a very long list. And if that's a candidate, Black folks are going to have to stand behind. They're going to have to stand behind that candidate, and they're going to have to stand behind them early because it's going to be important. We're likely to see another large field of candidates running for mayor, and it'll be important for any candidates that Black folks favor to have a little bit of a lift early on so that the rest of Chicago can see who this candidate is, can learn more about them, and maybe put their support behind them if they like them. Because at the end of the day, you've got to be one of those top two candidates. And if your numbers are low, then you won't get the chance to ultimately get on that stage. But Lori, I think, her experience has proven that if you can make it to that final race, you've got a shot. And so Black folks need to identify their candidate or candidates of choice early, put support behind them, give them some lift, and then kind of stick with them through the process.
Listen, let me ask you a question. I want to know, can you hang around for 10 more minutes? I know you.
Yes.
I know you. Okay. I got to take a break, but I have a question relative to policy and character. And my question is, and I really want to, I'm wondering, does Lori really care? I'm wondering, does she really care? Because even when you get back to Anjanette Young, I mean, there's handling things, there's a legal way to handle things, and there's a way to handle things that are responsible for the city. But ultimately, I want to ask the question, I'm curious as to just the opinion, and I wish she was sitting here. I would love to have a conversation with her. I'm wondering, does she care? So we're gonna take a break. We want to thank everybody for tuning in, you guys. We are having a conversation about Lori Lightfoot, what happened to her. She started out with a high approval rating. She's under 50%, but as you pointed out, that's still half of the city. But when it comes to trust, the numbers are even lower than that. Does she have a shot at re-election? Do we even want her in the seat anymore? And then the question is, when we talk about Anjanette Young, when we talk about Alderman Taylor, when we talk about these dust-ups, when we talk about this, appearance of a gruff, inflexible, very aggressive mayor, does she really care? I'm curious as to what you think. This is the Maze Jackson Show. It's Sadiq. I'm sitting in for Maze, for Todd, for Ruthie. I've got Reese the Ruler. We're in here. He's in for Sonia. And it's the two of us. We're talking to Alden Lowry. He is the senior editor for Race and Community at WBEZ. We'll be right back after this break.
WIIFTBP.
The Maze Jackson Show will be back after this break.
Let your booty do that yoga.
And now, traffic and weather.
Good morning. What's in it for the Black People Media? The time is now 8:09 a.m. and I am Reese the Ruler with your Chicagoland traffic and weather. In traffic on the Kennedy, O'Hare to the Loop, 37 minutes. Outbound to O'Hare, 31. On the Eden, inbound from Deerfield to Exchange, 40 minutes. Outbound Exchange to Deerfield, 41. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Thorndale to the Loop, 39 minutes. Outbound to Thorndale, 38 minutes. On the Stevenson, from I-355 to the Dan Ryan, 50 minutes. Outbound back out to 355, 41 minutes. On the Bishop Ford, from I-80 inbound to the Dan Ryan, 43 minutes. Back out just 29. The Dan Ryan, 18 minutes to the Loop, 15 minutes to 95th. Today's weather, it is currently 72 with still some haze. Expect a high of 77 and a low of 68. I'm Reese the Ruler, and that was your traffic and weather report. Now, back to Brother Sadiq on the Maze Jackson Show.
Back to the Maze Jackson Show. You are listening to the most dangerous show in the morning. This is What's in It for the Black People Radio. Maze Jackson. Maze Jackson, the most vociferous advocate for black people in the world.
If you ain't trying to help us, don't even try to be around and can't protect us. We see the lies, not other politicians. We need money and no symbolism. It's Maze and Sonia and Ruthie and Todd, explaining how we all come from God, giving us tools to beat the odds. If we're united, our movement gon' stop. If they ain't trying to help us, they ain't trying to do nothing. We gotta do something, we gotta stop running. It's time to confront the problem. Really, you expect your oppressed to solve them.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. It is the Maze Jackson Show. I am Sadiq, sitting in for Maze, for Todd, for Ruthie, and for Sonia, sitting in on the Soul Train this morning. And we are having a conversation with Mr. Alden Lowry from WBEZ. And the conversation is around what happened to Mayor Lightfoot. Seemingly high approval. Maybe never really high trust, but high approval, and it seems to have just been eroded by a series of bad decisions, bad relationships. Of course, COVID in the middle of that. So it's just been a mixed cocktail for her as the mayor, and certainly black people, or at least the ones that I talk to, and of course with the shows that I watch, because I'm usually on the other side. I'm usually in the audience watching the Maze Jackson Show. Certainly in the Lion's Den, I think her trust and approval level is below 20%, Mr. Lowry. So I really want to thank you, and I know we've got a couple minutes before you got to go. But my question is, and I asked this before the break, in your opinion, does the mayor care? And the reason I asked that question is because I asked, does she care? Because one of the comments that really struck me from the WIIFTBP media audience here on Facebook Live, one of the comments was, we just want her to right the wrong with Anjanette Young. And I think in the in the time that we're in, whether it's Lori, America, I think the world is in a shift, right? Just tired of the same old. And there, at the heart of it, there's people under this. We can talk about policy, management, but there are people, there are homes. And that video of Miss Young was, at the very least, disturbing, traumatic, horrible. I could go down a list of adjectives that just kind of put a face on a situation that certainly Lori could have handled in a different manner. And so I just want to get from you and what maybe the audience thinks, because we asked the question, can this be repaired? And whether it's repaired or not, does she care? What are your thoughts? I can't hear you. Is he still muted?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was on me. I was trying to keep all of the breakfast making and everything to a minimum there. But I don't know Mayor Lightfoot personally. I have had the opportunity to sit and talk with her on occasion. In a previous job, Lori was an advisor when I worked on a project called the Cost of Segregation at the Metropolitan Planning Council. And, I found her to be very genuine. I found her to be very, very genuine, very thoughtful. A lot of the rhetoric that we were hearing from her in the campaign when she ran for mayor, I'd heard a lot of those things in conversations that we had when there were no reporters there, when there wasn't a political gain to make or anything like that. So I think when we hear her talk about equity, when we hear her talk about race, when we hear her talk about her own kind of upbringing, which is certainly sometimes used to score political points, but I've always found her to be a very genuine person. So to the question, does she care? I think she does care. I think there have been times when she hasn't been able to get out of her own way. I think there have been times when she's tried to make choices that maybe she thought would that everyone would be okay with, and as a result, folks haven't been pleased with what she's done. And then I don't think that, particularly to Anjanette Young's case, maybe there was a whole flap around trying to keep the video from going public. And regardless of, her office is central in those decisions. And so, so those are things that she's got to own up to. So I do think she tried to make peace with that. She met with Ms. Young and apologized for what happened. But publicly she hasn't gone far enough. In the eyes of many. So, but yeah, I think I would say I think she does care. I just think in the same space. I've had interactions with Lori Lightfoot. For my days at the Chicago Reporter, when she was the head of the Office of Professional Standards at the Chicago Police Department, and she yelled, she cursed, she gave us a hard
she's still doing that in the chambers.
Yeah. I mean, she's a tough customer, and I think that's also very genuine about her. She doesn't pull punches. She doesn't hold her breath. She doesn't not make her opinions known. And maybe that works in some corners, but when you're mayor, sometimes maybe that doesn't work. And it comes off as being inflexible. It comes off as being, kind of mean-spirited in some respects. I think Lori Lightfoot is one of those folks who's, what you see is what you get. She tells you what's deep in her heart. And she also tells you what she doesn't like and what she won't stand for. And I think that's been a part of why she's risen to where she's risen, but it's also perhaps a part of why She struggled some in this seat. This is a hard job, to state the obvious. And I think the very best mayors are folks that when to push forward and when to negotiate, when to be skillful or Machiavellian in some respects. And only the very best are able to do that, each and every time out. And Mayor Lightfoot has she's had some good moments, and then she's had some very challenging moments. And so I think we're seeing that, and we're also seeing, like I said, probably one of the most difficult times for anyone to lead the city of Chicago. And I think a lot of her undoing has been a result of it just being a really hard time right now. But yeah, I think her being so off the cuff and so transparent about what she feels and what she thinks is probably contributing to some people wondering if she does care, because she kind of lays it all out there. So, but my opinion is that I think she does. And I think she's genuine with what she says. She's just, I just don't think she's made some of the best choices.
Well, she obviously has not made some of the best choices. Like, that is, to me, euphemistic and understatement at best. Because when you talk about the merging of public interest, how you treat people, and governing a city like Chicago, I think when we start talking about this intellect or the person that we need in order to move forward, I think the person has to be nuanced enough to realize that there is a caring, there is a constituency, there are people you just can't be. I can't remember the exact word that you used, but you laying it all out there or being a bit gruff or inflexible, it's based on what you're being inflexible about, because she could have been inflexible about getting that information out about Anjanette Young. She could have been really stand up and in that situation, and we're not going to hide behind the scenes. We're not going to hide behind lawyer speak. We're not going to hide behind the city, because black people have had enough, whether it be Chicago, anywhere in the United States. And I think maybe that's the type of person that we need, that's not just inflexible in certain instances, or a bulldog when it comes to just how you feel about the issue, but you have a constituency. And I personally don't feel that she has delivered to the constituency, or even to the people that put her in office. Because even if you look at her numbers now and the way people talk about her, you would almost wonder who voted for her. Like, in my estimation, between black people and white people, if you talk to black people, I'm wondering who voted for her. And I think there's extreme buyer's remorse in this situation with the mayor. So that's why I asked, one, can this be repaired? Two, does she even care? Can she spend the next couple of years, whether she gets elected or not, right? Is there enough of a heart or a person in there to really come out and say, yeah, I made some huge missteps, and regardless of whether you elect me or not, I care about black people, I care about women, I care about the city, I care about white people. But I really made some grave mistakes during that, and I'd like to see some of that. They're chiding me to let you go and eat. Talking about your flapjacks are getting cold. This has to be the most wicked audience in social media. And when I say wicked, I mean, I'm old, so wicked was a good term. Like, bad meant good, but they are a great audience. So Alden, I know you got to get out of here, man. I know you've got something to do, but yes, we don't want the flapjacks to get cold. We want you to eat your breakfast, Alden, and I really appreciate you spending time with us this morning. They still going. Apparently the dog has now eaten your flapjacks. And by the way, who says flapjacks anymore? But that's a whole nother conversation. So Alden Lowry, I want to thank you so much for being with us. And I really appreciate you even coming to have the conversation. I think it's a tight place to work to have a balanced discussion, but clearly there's some time left. The mayor will still be the mayor, and hopefully she can do something to move in a different direction. I'll stay away from right and wrong, but apparently whatever it is she's doing is not really working. And so we really want to, because the interest is there are things that can be done. People are interested in making their lives better, and that's why we elect government officials so that they can serve the people. And I think we need a little more service out of Mayor Lightfoot.
I think that's a good way to put it. And if that can happen within the next year and a half, 2 years, maybe she'll have a strong argument to make if she runs for re-election. But yeah, she certainly has a lot of work to do. Hey, thanks to what's in it for the Black people audience looking out. Yeah, it's always a pleasure to be on with you, and enjoy the time every time. So thanks for having me on.
Oh man, it's been a pleasure. So look, man, go enjoy the pancakes, the flapjacks, whatever it is you're eating for breakfast.
I wish there were some, but
okay. But it's important also having in your position, and I just want to say this: the WIIFTBP audience, Alden Lowry, WBEZ, a senior editor who has cut his chops from the bottom, coming up and dealing with organizations, policies, politics, the whole 9 yards. We're just appreciative of you taking your time out to join us here this morning. So thank you so much, brother.
Hey, same to you, my man.
All right, have a good one. DJ, you're gonna have to show me how to switch the. Hold on. Oh, did you do that from back there? Oh, he just dropped out, and then the camera. Oh, that's nice. You all, I have a problem working this. So let's. So how do I do this? Did oh man, look at that. That's not bad. Is that right?
You took the name off?
No, it's still his name under you.
Oh, look at you. Okay.
But I switched the images. It's still his name. But maybe we'll take a small break, and you can come in here.
You can see it. It's my name, and well, you know what? I'll fix it.
Yeah. You do that, because that'll be a whole piece for me. So. Mayor Lightfoot, we need you to get it together, because obviously there's a whole bunch of man. It's to me it's actually kind of sad. It's like, we can't get this thing right in terms of who we elect, what we want to do. But we got 2 years. Let's not act like we don't know what's coming up. Let's be proactive. Let's get on it right now. Who do we want to see in the mayor's seat? Like I saw some people put in Ruthie for mayor. Like, hey, I mean, Mays Jackson for mayor. Do you think Mays is too polarizing? What do you all think? You all think Mays could win the mayor's seat? What you think? What you think, Reese?
I don't know. You know what? He got a lot of power. You know what I'm saying? So I think he might could.
Do you all think Chicago would rock with Mays Jackson?
Yeah, but do you watch The Chi?
I've watched a little bit of I can't.
So they got a black mirror, right? And it's the old game banger.
Okay. So you
know what I'm saying? I just wondered, and that's what I always see. Like, and to me, like when I watch The Chi, he just remind me of like a typical brother getting a job. Like, getting a job. Now he want to do whatever he want. Like whenever like he want to do it. So I just like. It's kind of hard, and people got to understand politics. It's kind of hard, really, to be the mayor, And I know that we want the black mayor to worry about the black people, but she has to worry about everybody. I know because she's black, you want to worry about her people and what we've been through. But when you in politics, it's a little different. Like how we all cheer for like Obama, and now you can hear some black people like, "What Obama do for us?" You know what I'm saying? And
right.
That's how they felt.
Well, let's be clear. We didn't all cheer for Obama, but the majority. It was the cheering was very high, but there were some people that did not cheer for Obama.
But you got to understand, it's politics. Like, Obama just can't be president for the black people. He had to be president for everyone. And just like she has to be president for everyone. And then it's the pandemic. I'm not giving her no excuses because, I've seen the things that she's done, but it's the pandemic. She came on a real hard election time. So it's like, I want to say I think she's doing the best she can, but I think she's figuring out that this is not the job that she thought she signed up for. I think she's trying to, and she's not good at hiding. Like, you notice how she always say something and then it come out that she was hiding something?
Yeah.
She's not good at that. See the dailies, man, they go cut your left toe off and be like, you tell somebody, oh God, I'm coming, you know what I'm saying? She not doing that, she trying to hide, and that's what it is she's trying to be
slick and don't know how to be slick.
Do it right and don't know how to be slick, and that's what it is. And that's what all politicians are. Just can you be slicker than a can of oil? Can you be that? If you can't be that, then you in trouble.
Yeah, so it's interesting you brought it out, but in the comments, it's literally going between, like, people are talking about what Mays could do. Ruthie obviously has a great amount of support in the WIIFTBP audience, and just want to know what you all think, right? Because we are, let's say right now, we are ahead of the game, right? There's this displeasure with the current mayor. We have these interests that we want to see as a community, and I think the time is to start right now, like right now. And it's not that it's not totally happening, but the question becomes, what's missing in the process, right? What's missing in the process? Will we always have? So there was buyer's remorse with Obama. There's buyer's remorse with Lori Lightfoot, right? But they get all of these staggering numbers from the black community. Literally 80 to 90 to 95% of black votes. Right. And then once they're in office or out of office, it's like, man, they did absolutely nothing for us. So how do we avoid what seems to be a cyclical conundrum that we fall into every cycle, whether it be local, national, and then, shout out to the politicians that are actually serving the interest of their constituents, right? Because that also gets talked about very rarely, but there are, some state reps, some aldermen, there are people that are happy with their level of service, their level of attention to detail, and how they use their office to do what they should, which is serve their constituents. So how do we get out of the cycle? How do we get out of having buyer's remorse, more times than not? I think that's a great question. How do we do that? And that's what I'm interested in. Okay, we've got the displeasure, but what do we do in order to move forward? And I know in the audience out there, I mean, we've got judges, we've got lawyers, we've got business people. There are people with money, people without money. Like, there's a great representation of Chicago and beyond that is actually watching and listening to us right now. And so I think now is the time. I think we take this period and we begin to move forward. And I do believe that Mays has a great voice. I do believe that there are others out there that want to maybe come together and make a difference. And I just think we have to do it now. I think that in years from now, it would be a shame 6 years from now in a cycle, there's a new mayor and we're having the same conversation about, similar things. Even if we go back to Laquan McDonald, even when we talk about Anjanette Young, we talk about the propensity to cover up or to hide things. Like, is this just what politics is? Is this what corporate counsel and corporations do? Is there any type of empathy or caring about the actual citizens who live in the city? beyond just the businesses, the people who move, who are on CTA, who move in and out, who are working these jobs, and not just the high corporate jobs. Like everybody, you may not want to be a barista, but I mean, the person at Starbucks, they make your day go around, right? Because all of these people, whether it be high income, low income, there are people at the core of everything that needs to be done. The education system, the school board, like these things have an impact on everybody that is living in Chicago, whether you're in a poor neighborhood, an affluent neighborhood, north side, west side. You know, we really need to get it together because ultimately, you know, the voice needs to be heard and some changes need to be made. So how do we do it, you all? What do we do?
Man, cash rules everything around me. It's politics. Like, I can only do so much, you know. So as a politician, yeah, I got these dreams and that I want to change the world and do that. But once reality sink in, once I'm trying to get the money and the funds, who they coming from? Because, you know, sometimes these people say I can help you get elected, but you know, I need this, and this done. You know, I need this, and this. So you have to put some of your priorities on the back burner if election is your key, if you feel like this is how you're going to make your difference. So, and that's why I want people to understand, like, sometimes you in a position and then you like, oh, well, I thought that if I get in this position, I'd be pulling the strings. When you figure out that you just a puppet, you know, that you just the face figure of it. And that's what I think, that we always think that sometimes just because we have that title that we can just do whatever we want. It's just not that easy in politics. It's just not that easy.
Yeah, you know, I've got a question. We're going to take, we're past 8:30. We're going to take a quick break, our last break, before we get out of here. But before we take that break and we have the majority of the audience, like I just want to again say to the WIIFTBP media audience, the Lion's Den, how gracious and how impactful you've been as I have stood in for Mays Jackson for these last 5 days. You all are incredible. I really appreciate you. I will actually be on that side with you tomorrow in the den, and you guys have held it down. I mean, we've done, just to look at the numbers, I try not to focus on the numbers and just and have good content and work to have stimulated discussion in the audience. But I mean, we've been in the hundreds. You guys are at hovering around 90 right now, and I just want to say that it's been incredible. I know that when it's almost like when the Mays would appreciate this analogy. It's almost like when the guest preacher is in and only 75% of the congregation shows up because the assistant pastor is preaching because the pastor's on vacation. Well, the pastor will be back in the building tomorrow, and I'm sure that more people will show up. But for the base of the audience, you know, even on YouTube Live, reaching 100, 115, 130 people, it's just been phenomenal for you all to allow me into your space. I know I may not be as biting or as challenging as Mays Jackson, but that is his forte. That is what he does. And the objective or the goal was to bring you some great discussion material so that we can begin to, continue to frame this very period that we're living in, because I think we're living in an awesome period, an awesome space. And it's up to us what we make it and what we do. It is up to us. So let's do this, DJ. Let's go ahead. Let's take this break. And then we're going to come back. We're going to wrap up. We're going to go over some topics. I want to thank you all. That doesn't mean you got to leave. I'm just saying I want to thank you while you're still here. I know that it's early Tuesday morning. You got to get to work. You got to do whatever. But I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. And the main man and the ensemble will be back in their chairs tomorrow morning. So let's take this break. You are with Sadiq. I am standing in for the most dangerous show and the most vociferous man out there, asking all the time, what's in it for the black people? Join us. Stay with us. We'll see you right after this break.
WIIFTBP.
Shop at Black-owned and operated Solo Beauty, where you are appreciated and respected. Located at 8158 South Cottage Grove, Solo Beauty can supply all of your black hair care needs. Solo Beauty is open from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., Tuesday through Saturday.
Broken screen? Crashed system? Are you in need of spyware or virus removal from your computer? Well, contact RPC Computer Repair in South Shore and let us help you with all your computer repair services and print needs. Need office or print production services, copies, scans, fax, or even notary service? Then stop by and support RPC Computer Repair and Print Shop located 1741 East 71st Street in the 71st Street corridor, newly revitalized South Shore areas, and let RPC be your one-stop shop, where we believe RPC is your PC. RPC Computer Repair is also a UPS access point where you can drop off and pick up your important packages. So let RPC be of service to you. Call RPC Computer Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. through 6 p.m. at 773-966-4457. That's 773-966-4457. Visit RPC at rpccomputeringinc.com for more information.
I don't know what you did, but you did it right. Girl, you make it look so easy. Everywhere you go, heads turning left and right. Can't say you a dime, you're a 20 piece. Cause girl, you're the reason I be acting funny. Everything in me telling me don't let you get away. And all the guys looking like they wanna love you. Every day I'm your body, got not over my dead body. Why you gotta look so good? Why you gotta look so good? Why you gotta look so good? With your hair done, nails done, when you put that clone on. Why you gotta look so good? With your hair done, nails done, when you put that clone on. Why you gotta look so good? I can look and see you're not an average chick. You're shutting it down everywhere you go. Girl, I want you as bad as I wanna check. Cause you're sexy from head to toe. Girl, you're the reason I be acting funny. Everything in me telling me all that you get away. And all the guys looking like they wanna love you. Every day I'm your body, got not over my dead body. Why you gotta look so good? Why you gotta look so good? Why you gotta look so good? With your hair done, nails done, when you put your grown on. It's something about you. When you put your grown on. When you're waking up straight out of bed, girl, why you gotta look so good? When you're at the job, just taking a break, girl, why you gotta look so good? In the club, turning up, why you gotta look so good? On the dance floor, giving more. Why you gotta look so good?
Yeah, welcome back. It is the Maze Jackson Show, and I am Sadiq, sitting in for Maze, for Todd, for Ruthie, Sonia, and I have with me Reese the Ruler. What's happening, Reese? How you feel?
Why we got to be so good doing this, huh?
Huh?
I said, why we got to be so good doing this?
Hey, man, listen. You know what it is to me? It's the trust that I appreciate from Brother Jackson.
Yeah, for sure.
It's the trust, right? Because he could have just took the week off and replayed some old shows.
Yeah, he could have.
He could have taken the week off and he could have replayed some old shows. And I think that every now and then you have to know that the show can go on. It might not go on just as it, like I said, it's like when the assistant pastor's preaching, right? It's a few people is like, we just gonna watch football this week and we'll be back when the pastor get back. But for the majority of the audience, I mean, for us to be rocking between Facebook Live and YouTube, at some points, 250 and 260 people based on that. I think it's just is wonderful, and the trust that he had in us. I just want to give a shout out to him because this is his baby. You know what I mean? He's been growing the audience. He's put the time in, and we've just been stewards of his hard work for these 5 days.
Yeah, and we got to say thank you to them. Like, I'm looking at the screen, like, you can't see it, but it's like 108 on YouTube, and then it's I'm sorry, and then it's like another 100 on Facebook. So that's 200 people, and that's not the same 200. So it's been like people coming in and out. So we've seen like 600-700 people just come in and out. So thank you to the listeners for they could have took the
they could have took the 5 days off.
And they came through and celebrated with us.
Hey, you all got to do me a favor. You all got to do me a favor. And I know some of the Lions Den, you may do this. Y'all ask Maze about that going live during the show on Monday.
Please do.
I wrote it down. I took a note. I might type it into the thing, but I can only imagine the face that he'll make. But again, I just want to shout out to him for entrusting us with you all, with the viewership, with the listenership. Maybe next time we'll take some calls. I think that could also go in another direction.
We didn't do the call.
We didn't do the calls.
Yeah, and we could have though. We could have.
Okay, well, maybe next time. I think we did a good job covering the bases, making sure that there was quality content and people had something to react to and to listen to. So. Just excited about that. There's so much going on in the world. There is so much going on in the world. But when you have people who are paying attention, when you have people that are willing to discuss issues, I really do think that we're at a precipice in society where we are literally tackling issues that we normally would gloss over or that are only a small contingency of society would really be into discussing. And I really feel that's the value of the What's in It for the Black People audience, the media, the Lions Den. I'm looking at the people who get up that started at 6 o'clock, chiming in from Philly, D.C., Atlanta, Chicago. We have some people that are in from Africa. We have people that are in from the Caribbean. So you all do a fabulous job. The WIIFTBP media audience, the What's in It for the Black People audience, you all do a fabulous job. So it's not just May, Sonia, Todd, Ruthie. It takes all of us to make up this collaborative, right? It takes everybody participating in the conversation, and you guys do a fabulous job. So I just want to take the time as we wind down to acknowledge the audience, acknowledge what it is you do, sending the stars, tagging people, sharing the broadcast, participating in the conversation, in the comments. And you guys go hard in the paint. You know what I mean? I mean, you really do go hard in the paint. I was telling DJ when I first started, because I sat in Tuesday with May, so I don't count that. Sat in last Tuesday, and then it was off to the races Wednesday, and I'm like, man, the Lions Den, whoo, man, because you're very astute. You pay attention, and some are very opinionated, but we get, we have the ability, and I think it's a safe space. I think that's important. Like, it's a safe space to express yourself without having the emotional reaction of, I don't like him, I don't like her. Like, we all have come from similar yet different backgrounds. Everybody's unique, but I think at the heart of it, we're all people, and we want the best for ourselves, our families, and the communities around us. And I think that's what drives the heart of what we do. And I think that's at the heart of what Maze Jackson does, and why Todd comes in, and why Ruthie comes in, and why you come in, and Sonia comes in, and why they're on the soil, and the sports shows, and the Doctor in the House, and all of the shows. I think at the heart of it, we want to make this thing better. So I just want to acknowledge you all while I have the opportunity as I return to my seat in the audience with my coffee, DJ. Thank you very much. I will be. So, when you see me in the comments, you'll be like, hey, Brother Sadiq, how'd that coffee, man? How'd that coffee working for you?
I know. And then we can't wait to get you back on here in the fall.
Hey, the green side of things.
People, these same 100 people, don't forget about you, right?
Yeah. Well, I work on that because, especially being in this space, I want to make sure I'm taking care of this space first. And then we'll talk about Brother Sadiq. But definitely we have a show coming back in the fall. It's called The Green Side of Things, where we talk about, the little healthier, the sustainable, the cultural side, because that's also a side. And you guys are, well positioned. But those that we talk about health, we talk about the environment, we talk about the diaspora, we talk about the descendants of slaves, we talk about the issues that really impact us in different areas. So we talk about
health is wealth, and the older that I get, then the more because I remember I would look at other people, and they be like drinking almond milk, and then I'm drinking almond milk, and then when you're in a relationship, your girl, she gonna start feeding you, nah, you can't have none of this. Nah, you can't have none of that. I be like, I'm a
Is that what she doing to you?
Grown man. What you mean I can't have you? So, yeah, you know how like women always try to look up saying, I ain't want you to die on me early, so
yeah, of course not.
Health is wealth, so I think, it's a lot of good information to obtain, like you said, and like how I remember Toussaint one time said that like he learned some stuff and his back ain't been hurting, and so it's certain things that they can learn naturally and not using all this pharmaceutical medicine out here. So I think definitely tune in the fall when you come back. I'll be ready to really get in tune to it.
Okay, I appreciate that, man. It's very heartfelt. I lost both of my parents, and no different than anybody else. People that have lost loved ones, but health was a big part of that. We're talking about major cardiac events, heart attacks. My parents were both diabetic. My dad was a cancer survivor. I mean, we literally, any disease hoop that you have to jump through, my parents jumped through it. And when I went to the doctor at 29, I was on the same path, literally. The doctor looked at me and she said, Mr. Colquitt, you are going to have to take these high blood pressure meds. She said, but, everything's okay. Your blood pressure's a little high, but you probably have to take them for the rest of your life. And I walked out of the office, and honestly, at 29, I said to myself, the rest of my life sounds like a long time, and I don't know if I want to be on meds the rest of my life. And so I changed my diet. And it may not be for everyone, but I am 50. I was 29. I turned 50 my birthday. I'll be 51 in 6 months. And according to my doctor, I am in less than 2% of the population. I'm an African-American, so my demographics don't match up. I'm an African-American. I live on the south side of Chicago. I'm 50 years old, and I have no diseases. I don't have heart disease. I don't have diabetes. I don't have any, my PSA count is almost unmeasurable, undetectable. I have no high cholesterol. I mean, can't go on down the list.
And you survived 50 years out on the South Side. That's
50 years.
That's the most incredible feat.
Disease free.
Disease free. 50 years out South.
Yeah. So, haven't had a cold in 16 years. Medicine cabinet is non-existent in the house. So, just from my experience, we can do some things to change our health, and we don't have to be dependent on the medical industry or the pharmaceutical industry. And that can impact our children, that can impact our communities, that can, it can have a broader impact, but it happens one person at a time. I've learned to become patient, and I've learned to work with people and start, everybody has to start where they are. I was allowed to start where I was. I mean, I started by eating Big Macs with no meat because I wanted a Big Mac, but I didn't want the, yeah, I needed, I needed to taste, and I was in a transition phase. So it's not like, I went from eating a Big Mac to licking bark. Yeah. There was a transition, and yeah. Dang, Alvin, you telling all the goodies. The 40 ounce. Yeah, I forgot. Maze and I, we had that talk on the air. So Alvin's like, Sadiq was a part of the 40 ounce club. I was a part of the 40 ounce club, Alvin. Yes, I was.
But now we are a part of the Moors, right?
Yeah. Moore's Brewing, right?
Moore's Brewing.
Yeah, they are the official beer of WIIFTBP Media. What's in it for? Yeah.
Right. Yes, sir. We're going to have to get them a commercial on here. Moore's Beer, the official.
Yeah. Of WIIFTBP Media. Yeah, and you have the voice to do that. You should work on the commercial.
Moore's Beer.
As a matter of fact, I get I hear some of the commercials because I think you've cut some commercials for the station, right. And I'd be like, how come I can't get Reese to cut the green side commercials or do something?
Like I like a little like a rooster wake up to the green side of things.
Look at you. You got it already.
I got you. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think I did a great job. And it's not that. So I joke about it. Maze didn't tell me not to talk about being vegan or being healthy, but a lot of times conversations like that can put people.
A little weird, I feel
it's very different, and certainly I'm a witness to that. But I just want to say that I'm appreciative of even these 5 or 6 minutes to talk about my own health journey, because it really does mean something when you don't have to worry about taking meds every day. When you go to the doctor's office and you walk in, and there's a knowing. That the levels are going to come back right. I'm not necessarily, looking to find out whether something has developed. I still go get my annual checkup. Matter of fact, I'll be there in September. So, and that's the thing, because black people say they don't go to the doctor. So, I
go for my checkup, but I'm I'm afraid to go to the hospital only because when I was 18. I had to get my tonsils removed, and I found out on the operating table that I was allergic to anesthesia. So I had a 20 to 30% survival rate. When I woke up, it was 40, 50 of my family members was there. The doctor was like, you might as well call your family up here.
Oh my God.
It's a very good chance that he doesn't make it. So my mother went crazy. So ever since then, I'm real traumatized. The only way I go in the MLM is if I can't go and I can't fight you to say no, I'm not going. If I got any strength in me, I am okay. I'm stuck in that moment. I'm waking up, a tube coming out of my mouth, and then I'm sitting there.
Oh, wow.
I look and it's like a whole room full of my family in there. I'm like, what is going on? So yeah. But I definitely go for my checkups though. But if anything that's seriously wrong, then I get a little nervous, but it's good so far. I'll fight it out. I will fight as much as I can before anything. I just can't do it, man. I'm traumatized up there.
Hey, I got it. But let's keep talking, because we don't have to be in the hospitals the way that we are. And I know the message is, and I'll just say this, all of the top diseases that we face, specifically as African Americans, specifically heart disease, high cholesterol, diabetes, kidney disease, they are all preventable. Got to get that. They're all preventable.
Kids, I'm sorry, that's not
well, kids are preventable too. But you wouldn't think so. Kids are preventable too, but they are all preventable. But we have to start talking about the fact that we have a choice. We do not have to have diabetes. We do not have to have massive heart attacks, massive strokes, even Alzheimer's, right? There's new research out, and they've known this because I've had several relatives who have succumbed to Alzheimer's, dementia. These are all diseases of the brain that literally are correlated to how we eat. So Alzheimer's is preventable as well. Dementia, the brain does not just stop functioning. You have to do something
to make it stop.
To make it stop functioning. And so these are the things. So we just want to have the conversation, because when I was younger, the appearance to me was these are just things that happen because you get older, and that's not true. It happens because we don't take care of ourselves, and we opt not, or very sparingly, to have a health conversation. Like, we can't have fun and be healthy at the same time, and we absolutely can.
Yeah, you know what? And I just think, like, right now, you know, being vegan is like, I won't say like a trend, but it's actually becoming more noticeable, and people are starting to really take more in effect in it. Like, I've seen what you've done on the station. I've seen people like, yeah, you know, I talked to Brother Sadiq, and now even if they trying it, you know, you still getting people to see that there are other options besides what you've been doing. But if you like really look at it, and I keep trying to tell people, like 100 years ago, we were still eating, you know, that's where we get our bad eating habits from, because we couldn't eat, you know, what the white people was eating, you know, like, you know what I'm saying, like, really, like to be honest. So we only like 100 and something years removed from slavery and stuff like that. So our minds, like, generations now, like you train your generation, so and then they'll train theirs, and now generations now will be more health aware, you know. So I think it's kind of hard to break now, but it is a good time to start right now. But, you know, I think more along like the line in the future, we will be eating more healthy.
Hey man, and I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I'm a drop in the bucket, right, of all of these, of the ocean, of the water that makes us a community. I just tell my story because I believe that my story offers us a choice, right? It offers us a choice. And I think that we can stand in our choices and we can choose wisely, but it is not automatic. Disease is not automatic. Diabetes is not automatic. Heart disease is not automatic. But we have a choice. So that being said, we got about 30 seconds. And you guys, I mean, they have rocked with us literally the whole time. Listening to my health banter. We started out with the pulling down the statues. We talked about the mayor. And it has been a great show today. And again, in all humility, I want to thank you all for hanging in there. I want to thank Mays Jackson. I want to thank Tennille Jackson, the Jackson family, for even having the fortitude to step out there and do what you guys do, because it makes Black Chicago, the Black United States, the Black world a better space. All of those, the activists that out there on the front line, the men, the women, the business owners, all of you out there that are going to your jobs, whether you're in your cars, you're on public transportation, if you're listening on Facebook Live, if you're on YouTube Live, wherever you have us, I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. This is Brother Sadiq. I have been sitting in for Mays Jackson on the Mays Jackson Show. So for Mays, Ruthie, Todd, Sonia, for Reese the Ruler, everybody here on WIIFTBP Media, it has been a pleasure and an honor. Thank you so much. You have been tuned into the most dangerous show on the airwaves, social media, radio, wherever you find it. It is the Mays Jackson Show. And if you don't like it, you can ask Mays tomorrow when he's sitting in this seat. We love you, and we'll see you. Peace.
Put your hands together. Put your hands together. Before you leave out the door, before you leave out the door, baby, won't you change your mind? Really wish you would change your mind. Now that you got my love, you don't even come around. Now that you got my love, you got me standing on shaky ground. Now that you got my love, you don't come around. Now that you got all my love, you got me standing on shaky ground. Put your hands together. Put your hands together. Oh my, I had a conversation with her. This is how it went. Before you leave out the door, before you leave out the door, baby, won't you change your mind? Oh, Lord have mercy. 'Cause I need you and you need me. I know we can be happy. Just wait and see. Baby, won't you change your mind? I'll do better if you change your mind. Now that you got my love, you don't even come around. Now that you got my love, got me standing on shaky. Now that you got my love, you don't even come around. Now that you got my love, you got me standing on shaky ground. Baby, won't you change your mind? Baby, won't you change your mind? Oh no, I've been hoping, baby. I've been praying, baby. Yes, I have. Baby, won't you change your mind? Oh no. I've been hoping, baby. Yeah. I've been praying down on my knees, praying that you change your mind. Oh, Lord have mercy. I'll do better if you change your mind.
WIIFTBP.